It's the Season Podcast, episode 14, week 10 reaction show, week 11 preview. Episode 14. If you've been here for all 14, thank you. If this is your first one, thank you. We always appreciate you tuning in. Quick reminder, social media. Please follow us. Instagram at TheSZNPod, the TheSZNPod. We do post information there. We post reels there. We hope they're entertaining for you. We hope they're informative for you. On our Instagram page, we also have links to our YouTube page, links to Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcast. It's all available there on social media. So please hit follow. Check us out. This week, Nick, as we typically do over the course of the week, we post mini pods. And those are kind of, smaller self-contained segments, 15, 20 minutes on a particular topic. The topic this week, as a reminder to everybody, was the firing of Brian Daboll of the New York Giants, the head coach of the Giants. Came as a little bit of a surprise. We didn't necessarily think he'd make it past this season, but to be fired mid-season was a little bit of a surprise. And I want to point you to that episode. We're not going to cover it all here today. But a reminder, the guy was 20, 40, and 1. 20 wins, 40 losses, 1 tie over his time there. And that was after going 9-7 in his first year. So the numbers certainly point to hey, that's fireable, right? In New York especially, over 3.5 seasons to have that record. Since his 9-7 season, he was 11-33-1. That's fireable, right? Now, was there rapport with Jackson Dart, his rookie quarterback, who has a very high ceiling, we believe? Yes. And so was it a little bit surprising? Yes. Nonetheless, they've decided to move on from him. On our pod, we speculate about who could potentially replace him. Nick had a theory on that. Check that out. I thought it was funny, Nick, this week. Bill Belichick was asked about – everyone's going to get asked about this opening, right? Bill Belichick, in his press conference for North Carolina – was asked about the job and whether he'd be interested. And what do you think he said? Yeah, I'm worried about it. I'm thinking about Wake Forest. I'm thinking about Wake Forest, and we're on to Wake Forest.
Yeah, they're actually winning some games now.
Oh, they suck. Stop.
They're winning some games.
Anyway, so he's not, but one of Nick's other predictions. So on our check out Instagram, Nick gave 5 predictions relating to this situation moving forward. One of your predictions was that Jameis would become number 2. Was that one of your 5 predictions?
That was one of them.
Jameis would become number 2 and Russ would move to 3. That has happened. Jameis is now number 2. The presumption is that even though he had a concussion, that Jackson Dart will be back this week.
Yeah.
Jameis moves to 2. So if Jackson's unable to play, it'll be Jameis. And we felt like that was the right move all along. It seemed like a no-brainer. Let me throw out one more thing relating to that situation before we move on, because that is the news of the week, Brian Daboll. I want to remind everybody about a comment that Kevin O'Connell, the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, who largely has been a very good head coach throughout his time in the NFL so far, and an assistant coach. He was really good as a coordinator. He made a comment not too long ago where he said, quote, organizations fail young quarterbacks before quarterbacks fail organizations. Okay, his point is that when these young quarterbacks, oftentimes, even if they were overrated or have underperformed, oftentimes the organization failed them first, is his point. And if I'm an owner or a GM, that's a fantastic outlook for my young quarterback to have, my head coach to have. I want him to have that, right? I want him to say, no, this is not the quarterback's fault. Let's develop this kid. And the stats quick stats to sort of prove that. Daniel Jones in Indy is 8-2, right? Now, granted, there's other pieces around it, but that's the point. Organizations, right? He's 8-2. The Giants are 2-8, his former team. Sam Darnold right now with the Seattle Seahawks, maybe the best team in the NFL, possibly, we'll get to that, is 7-2. The Jets are 2-7. That's where he started. And then I'll take it an even different perspective as it relates to coaching. Mike Vrabel is 8-2. The Giant, let me start that over. Mike Vrabel's 8-2. The Titans are 1-8. Okay, so sometimes fresh starts with coaches are needed. Like look at Andy Reid, for example. It just kind of became stale. It was time to move on. But I think that the lesson there, just generally speaking, is just, hey, make sure you blame the right guy.
Yeah.
Right? Because oftentimes these young quarterbacks, and this was our concern with Jackson Dart, you can ruin him quick. And it's not fans oftentimes, this guy's got good enough, let's move on. And Kevin O'Connell says, hold on. Remember, this could be a good guiding light for organizations when they draft guys. Organizations tend to fail young quarterbacks way before the quarterback fails the organization. And I think every young coach, or any coach for that matter, should have that mindset about bringing these guys along and doing it the right way.
No, I think it's good. And I think you can just summarize it with the, statement that's always, we've heard it so many times, the grass is not always greener on the other side. Mm-hmm. You really have to take a a deep look at why things are going. And sometimes ownership, they want to blame everyone else and they don't look at themselves. Like, maybe I'm not running this the right way, or maybe I'm, the way we're hiring people isn't the right way. And, I also think in Minnesota with O'Connell, like that's probably why he was hesitant with getting J.J. McCarthy back out there, is he knows he's a young quarterback who's been injured, and he's trying to make sure he doesn't ruin him. He wants to make sure that he continues to develop and puts him in the best position to be successful.
Yep.
And we always go back to the Packers, right? That's just the team that's always had success with quarterbacks. They've had the fewest starting franchise quarterbacks probably over the last 20 years, 30 years. Yeah, 30 years. And they just do it the right way, whereas everyone else is rushing to play these young guys. And the big reason, too, is they're marketable. It puts fans in a stand. The second Jackson Dart starts for the Giants, there's more fans that want to go to the games. There's more people that want to tune in to watch the games. Instantly, the team's worth goes up for a moment. Jersey sales go up, all those things. But we talked about it on the mini pod. You took a guy that was a winner in college, that's been a winner probably in high school, middle school, flag football.
Always won.
And you taught him how to lose games he should have won. And that's the unfortunate aspect, is if you don't have the right pieces around these young players, you now teach them things that they didn't know. Is he strong enough to overcome it? I think so. I mean, you got to go through adversity. I mean, I learned how to lose in college. I learned how to win, but like, it wasn't just win, win, win. I learned there's something about losing and learning how the process works and continue to grind that develops, your character and the culture. But this is the guy's first year in the NFL. He's got a bright future. That's the thing that we talked about early in the year and it's specifically with the first round pick. Like, if it's a second or third round pick, I get you're trying to see what you got. I got thrown in my rookie year. You want to see what you have in your second or third round picks. These first round picks, you're paying them. You got a 5th year option.
Got to hit on them.
You got to hit on them because, at some point you're hoping they get the big contract, but that 5th year option is a huge thing. So you want to make sure that you're really cautious and put them in the best situation possible. And I think New York failed that.
So far.
I do think Kafka, if he reverts back to, what he knows from his previous coaches and what they did and sort of switches it up. I believe Mike Groh's there as well. So they've been on great coaching staffs and they are great coaches themselves. Hey, let's switch this up. Let's change it up. Let's freshen things up and see if we can make a run the last part of the year and just show something positive.
And to be clear, Kevin O'Connell was not commenting on the Giants situation. This was a comment that was made a while ago. He's just commenting generally on organizations and young quarterbacks and development. And your point about him holding back J.J. McCarthy maybe a little longer than he had to from an injury standpoint to sort of protect him. Some people saw it as like a soft benching. It's like, I think it's more of a development thing.
Yeah.
I think the Giants were on course to doing the opposite. So, look, Daboll is a creative offensive mind, and I think Daboll's like, hey, whatever it takes, like, we got to find a way to win. But I think what he was doing is consistently putting, like, some of it was Jackson being reckless, and some of it was by design. There were way too many design quarterback runs with Jackson. And over 7 starts, 4 of them he's in the blue tent. That's too many, right? If you're the owner, the GM, Joe Shane, like, you look at that, you're like, that's our first round pick at quarterback, and my God, he's in the blue tent a lot his rookie year. And one of them, by the way, Brian Daboll is running back, trying to expedite the process of evaluating him for a concussion.
And gets fined for it.
And that was a bad look, right?
Yeah.
So
they were desperate.
The thought there is like, and I think this is part of the whole all the calculus for the Giants was, I don't know that Brian is safeguarding our prized possession enough. And that was another, like the 20, 40, and 1, the record, that alone is fireable, right? At some point, maybe not mid-season, but after this season for sure. But to consistently put your quarterback in harm's way is another fireable offense. And I think Kevin O'Connell, I juxtapose it to Kevin O'Connell because his thought process is the exact opposite of what we're seeing with Brian Daboll right now. And I hope that the leadership, at least I think the leadership was smart enough to realize that in New York, and that's part of the reason this went down. So.
Yeah, I do have a big thought on all this. It's like, all right, you go back to the beginning of the season in training camp. You have Russell Wilson, you have Jackson Dart, you have Jameis Winston. And then I would say after the preseason, if, you take whatever year they are, rookie, 14th year, 12th, whatever they are, and to say, hey, who's the guy that this team wants to be the quarterback? I think if the team voted, it'd probably be Jackson Dart, right? I just think I saw that in the preseason, but you also had this coaching staff that is desperate. They have to win this year. Mm-hmm. They have to show that they can play with this guy, this young quarterback. That's their future. They need a new contract, or they're gone. So it goes back to what you're saying. Like, yes, Kevin O'Connell's right, but you have to start earlier in your contract where you have more leeway. Like, Dayball was at the end of his reign. Like he had to. They had to do QB runs. They had to do this. They couldn't put Jackson Dart in a position where, hey, man, we're going to protect our quarterback while also having a great offense and building. They had to win now. So they put him in as an ownership. That's my problem with the whole situation is this is a first-round pick who has a bright future, and you put him in a situation where all these coaches are desperate to win, and they have to. So, therefore, you're not actually putting your quarterback in the best position to grow. You're just like, hey, I need you to win now and no matter at all costs.
Yeah, so that actually – I think you're highlighting what might be – even though I don't love midseason firings. I've been very clear about that. I don't think you accomplish much. In fact, I think you might muddy the waters by – if Mike Kafka wins 4 games, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, we should hire Mike Kafka, and hiring the interim rarely, if ever, works, right? All this energy around an interim, and they hire him, and it's a huge mistake, right? Most recently was with the Raiders, Antonio Pierce. Terrible hire on Antonio Pierce. I mean, he got ASU in trouble when he was in college when recruiting, then he goes there, and terrible hire. And then that set him back a couple years. My point is that it's possible at 2-8 that the ownership and management looked at it and said, okay, we're not making the playoffs. We're not going to retain. There's nothing Dayball can do the last 7 games to make us think he's the right guy moving forward. So what is he going to do out of desperation the last 7 games that could set us back even further? Almost like, hey, take the keys from the car away from the guy before he hurts himself, right? That ultimately, and that's a defensible strategy, by the way.
I think that's fair.
Even though I don't love midseason firings, that is a situation where they're sitting around a table and they say, give me the keys. I'm not going to let you do this anymore because you're desperate. You're going to do whatever you can to win 3 more games. And if you do, guess what? What does that make us? 5-12? You're still going to get fired. So we're going to take it away now, even though we don't love midseason firings either. And that actually has some sound logic to it. So I'm like talking myself through this as we go.
Yeah.
Because I don't love midseason firings.
You're doing a little self-therapy right now.
But look, if I own an NFL team and I'm sitting there with my GM, that probably is a bulk of the discussion right there. Is this guy going to potentially either get our guy hurt or developmentally destroy our new quarterback in a quest to win 3 more games in a season that kind of has already gotten away from us? Let's get rid of him now, right? And by the way, Dayball's a tough dude, man. Like he's an emotional guy, and I think after their loss to, like, they went 9-7 year 1, they had a win against Minnesota in their first playoff game, and then they got crushed by the Eagles. I think the next game. I think there's been some dissension in the staff. He's not an easy guy to work with, right? I mean, I was with him for a couple years in Cleveland. I like Dayball. I think he prepares like crazy. I think he's a sharp offensive mind. He's a tough guy to be around sometimes. He's very emotional, just emotionally charged guy. And I think it was, and I'm sure it's been tough to be around him in the building, given what's going on. And I think they finally said, let's just take the keys away, even though it's not the perfect solution.
Listen, I think the Giants are dangerous this week, and we'll get into that later. And I do agree with you. Hiring an interim head coach seldom goes well. There are times where those coaches, like Dan Campbell, interim head coach in Miami, eventually becomes an amazing head coach in the NFL, like he is now. I do think this is
but he wasn't I'm saying hire the interim.
No, he wasn't hired in Miami. No, I'm just saying that. But there are times where these interim guys eventually become head coaches down the road. Very small percentage. But I will say this: if you're the New York Giants, with Mike Kafka, if there ever was a chance that an interim head coach was to remain with the team and be the head coach, it would be the situation. Is the percentage high? No, it's really, really low. But Mike Kafka, graduate assistant at Northwestern. I played with Mike my rookie year. I was with him through training camp. The guy's a very, very smart football player, and this is going back to 2012. Fundamentally sound. Trent Edwards, I know you're listening to it. You're going to love that I said that. I remember one time we were doing quarterback drills, and I was competing with Mike, but I'm also a rookie, so I'm not trying to overshadow someone. I'm just trying to do my part and everything. And I went to Mike because he's trying to save his job from me, and I just went up to him and was like, hey, man, he thought I was going to say something, I don't know, smart or whatever. And I'm like, man, I love watching you do quarterback drills, man. I learn a lot from watching your footwork and your fundamentals. Your fundamentals are outstanding. And he looked at me sort of shocked, like, wait, did you just give me a compliment?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're competing.
Because you're the draft pick, right?
Yeah, but I was like, my big thing is when I was at practice, and I tell our young girls this when we coach flag football, because the second they do a drill, they're now dancing around and talking to each other. I'm like, hey, girls, watch your teammate do drills. You're always learning something. So whenever I would do a drill, a footwork drill, I would then go back in my place in line, and then I would watch the next quarterback do it. And I'd watch what they do, and I'd try to take some because I knew I wasn't there. I knew I needed to get better each and every day. And Mike was one of those ones where the way he did his drops, the way he stepped up in the pocket, the way he delivered there was things that I really liked that he did from a young player. And I say that just from like 2012. He's obviously grown a lot. He was with Andy Reid in Kansas City from 2017 to 2021. And then he goes to New York as the offensive coordinator in 2022. So he's been there. He's been under Andy Reid. He's played in the NFL. He's played the position. He knows quarterbacks. My guess is he's re-energizing that facility. He's taking the lead. He's got Mike Groh there coaching receivers. Mike was with me on our Super Bowl team in Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. Mike is an outstanding receiver coach. He gets those guys dialed into the details. So they do have pieces there if Mike can rally the troops. But I do think with 7 games to have a chance, he's got to win 5. And we said at the beginning, this is the toughest schedule in the NFL. No. The chances of this happening are very – they're not likely.
Yeah.
And I go back to what I'm saying. I know just looking at the news, Mike McCarthy's name is now in the ring, which actually is an interesting – he did pretty good in Dallas. I don't like the hire. I don't think that's the hire. If I'm them, I'm going after Lane Kiffin. Mm-hmm. I think it's as simple as that. You're New York. You have a huge media. You have a huge marketing thing. If your team has success, it's huge for you. It's huge for the NFL. What name is that? It's Lane Kiffin. I think that's the most polarizing. Will it be the most successful? I know there was comments, and you alluded to it, where he's been in the NFL before, and it didn't go well. Well, he had been in college before, and it didn't go well. He got fired multiple times, and it didn't go well. But now he's sort of figured out who he is at Ole Miss, and he's having a lot of success.
Yep.
And mind you, his first-round pick quarterback who is with the Giants. So this type of situation doesn't happen often, where you have one of the top college coaches with his quarterback that the Giants drafted there, and you can go potentially get him and bring him back to the NFL. I think that's what, if I'm the Giants, that's what I'm going to do. I've said it over and over again. I would love it if that did happen. I think it'd be fascinating.
Well, Lane obviously has experience running teams. He's been in the NFL before. We're acknowledging that. He was with the Raiders, didn't go well. But I think Lane has come a long way as a coach since then. Other names you're going to hear as a replacement for Brian Daboll in New York. You'll hear Cliff Kingsbury. Cliff, again, I think Cliff is doing right now what he does best, as calling plays.
He's an OC.
He was a head coach in college, had Patrick Mahomes, and never finished in the top half of the Big 12. Okay, he doesn't have a lot of success as a head coach, and I don't think it's a good idea to hire Cliff. Joe Brady, a guy that had made his name coordinating the LSU offense under Joe Burrow, one of the best offenses ever in 2020, or the 1920 season, I believe it was. I think that's a highly risky hire. Bill Belichick, don't think it's going to happen. Clint Kubiak's interesting because he's doing a great job in Seattle. Obviously has not gotten a chance to be a head coach.
It's a good name.
Marcus Freeman at Notre Dame is going to continue to be thrown out. I think it's unrealistic but possible. John Gruden's name is still out there. Yeah. That would be very polarizing. I'm not sure they'll go that route. Jesse Minter, the young defensive coordinator for the Chargers, who's been a fantastic coordinator under Jim Harbaugh, and then Mike McCarthy. A note on Brian Daboll. So he has been a good offensive coordinator, notably with Josh Allen in Buffalo. Whether or not he's a head coach, because he does have some past experience with Tua Tagovailoa, by the way. He was with him at Alabama under Nick Saban. Would Miami look at him? Maybe if Mike McDaniel, fell apart. Would they look at him? Possibly. But I think any struggling offense right now in the NFL should take a hard look at Brian Daboll. And who am I thinking when I say that? The Buffalo Bills. Now, ironic that I just said Joe Brady's a candidate. He's the offensive coordinator in Buffalo.
Bring him in as a consultant right now.
Yeah, they should. The Bills should take a hard look at it because they can be pretty inconsistent offensively. I think the Eagles should take a look at it. We're going to get to the Eagles here shortly. I don't think the Kevin Patullo thing is working out. I know their win-loss record is great, but this team should be better than it is. And Kevin Patullo's decisions are head scratchers. I think they should look at it. I think the Packers should even look at it. We're going to get to the Packers here shortly. Matt LaFleur probably would not happen because Matt is kind of his own OC and does his own thing. So he's probably not going to go hire someone like Brian. But every struggling offense in the NFL should be looking at Brian Daboll and how maybe he can help their team if he doesn't go become a head coach somewhere else. I think that's very obvious.
Honestly, if I'm Daboll and obviously he's going to take a vacation. Who knows what he's going to do for a few weeks, but it'd be
he's all ball.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if he was a
dude. If I'm
consultant tomorrow,
like say Andy Reid hit me up, he could go join the Chiefs, man. Yeah. Just go see how Andy does things. Yeah. I think that'd be interesting for him in his future. We said it with the 5 predictions. Is I do think he'll be successful when he becomes an OC again. He showed that, and there's some guys, and if I'm the Giants, like I'm not going to hire an OC or a DC again. I'm going to find a guy like it. Once again, I think the fact that Lane Kiffin's been a head coach in the NFL and he's been head coaches all along. I like that. I don't want to go get a guy to bring him in the New York market that's never been a head coach, that's never led a team. We've just done that over and over again. Let's go find a guy that has learned a lot, that's having a lot of success, that's been a head coach to lead this team right now. This is a huge market. This is a huge team. This is a team with a lot of history. Let's not play that game anymore. So
Lane Kiffin?
I like Lane Kiffin. I think that's the best hire. I think that's the most interesting hire. I think that's the most fun hire. I think that's the one that puts the fans in the stands.
Of all the names I just said, I think Lane probably brings the most excitement to like, oh, this is intriguing.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, Joe Brady doesn't do it for me.
Yeah.
Kubiak is interesting because of the success they had in his dad, and he's been around ball, and you know the fact he's like a Shanahan, like he got to watch his dad be a head coach, so that sort of helps him a lot. I mean, honestly, if I'm going to hire a guy that's an OC, I'm going to Kubiak because of the lineage, and he's gotten to see that. I don't want a guy right now to lead a team, and the reason I say it in that market, we're going to get into media in a second. But, like, that is a different team. That's different than going to be the head coach in Jacksonville where the media, like, you don't even get it anywhere.
Yeah.
New York media, New York market is huge. It's one of the most valuable markets in the United States, if not the most valuable market. You need to make sure that you have someone that can actually handle that.
All right. Let's jump into Eagles-Packers. This Monday night game was, I think, on paper, the game of the week. It was the one I was the most looking forward to for a number of different reasons. Would the Packers bounce back after losing at home to Carolina 16-13? And how would the Eagles fare, right? Obviously at 8-2 now, 7-2 going into the game, it's a dangerous team, but you're like, what are they going to look like this week? This is going to be really interesting against this defense. It's going to be interesting to watch. And from a game flow standpoint, part of me wanted my 2.5, 3 hours back. I thought it was a terrible football game. And some people might say, oh, come on, like defensive games are fun. Are the Packers good defensively? Yes. Did the Eagles take a step forward on defense? Yes. Were they able to generate a pass rush with a guy they traded for on Jalen Phillips? Like Jalen Phillips was awesome in that game. He played like 52 snaps, had like 7 quarterback hurries. Now remember, when he was in Miami, they rarely had a lead over his time there. So there weren't that many obvious passing situations. And he was the best player on their front. And so they could find ways to account for him. Now he's on a defensive front with other really good players. And I think he's going to shine. So I think the returns early on that trade are fantastic for Howie Roseman. Jalen Phillips looked fantastic. And I mean, he made more of an impact than Micah Parsons did in the game. Now, Micah showed up at times, but he made more of an impact on the game than Micah did. And so you're watching that and you're like, look at the Eagles. Gave up a 3rd-round pick for a guy in a game like this that starts making plays. But overall, Nick, and we're going to get into specifics, I thought the game sucked for the most part. I thought coaching decisions were very questionable across the board, not only with Nick Sirianni, but also with Matt LaFleur. I thought quarterback play was a C at best for the most part. Jalen made a key throw to Devontae Smith for a touchdown, but by and large missed a lot of throws. And come on, like cold weather, get out of here.
It was windy, though.
I don't care.
It was windy.
Like the quarterback play was not very good, and it goes back into the whole discussion of Jalen. And like, look, I know for the most part he's efficient and he can make some big time throws down the field, but on a throw by throw basis, you're watching this and you're like, what is that? Right? And then on the flip side, Jordan Love. This is the really frustrating thing for me with Jordan Love. So I, like 3 weeks ago, I sat on here and said, I think he's arrived after the Pittsburgh game. And what I meant by that is I thought, okay, this offense has taken a big step against Pittsburgh, whose defense is not great. I get that Pittsburgh's not amazing. And I thought that's kind of the launching point for them. And this offense is just going to get better over the course of the year. And then by the time we hit the playoffs, it's going to be really, really elite. And it's gone the opposite direction. Completely, I was wrong.
Really quick.
At least for now, I was wrong. Completely the opposite direction. And Jordan Love, I don't know if this is Matt LaFleur's fault, which we'll get into in a second, but Jordan Love has got to let go of the football. There are so many plays in the All-22 where even when he gets whether or not he gets pressure, because they were getting pressure with a 4-man rush, the Eagles were. Credit to them. It's hard to throw against that. But he'd step up in the pocket, options wide open down the field, and does not let go of the ball. Jordan Love is terrified of making a mistake. And you can't play the game that way. You don't ask, and I know you're a quarterback, you don't ask quarterbacks, please protect the football, right? When quarterbacks go into games thinking, I've just got to protect the football, they don't play at a high level, right? Now, you don't want to be reckless. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying chuck it all over the place and take these unnecessary risks. But Jordan Love plays like someone's got a gun to his head saying, please take care of the football. And throughout the course of that game, there were so many chances for them to push the ball down the field and take open throws. Some of it you saw on ESPN that Troy Aikman would circle, and then some of it shows up on the All-22, which we had a chance to watch. But it's like, Jordan, you've got to cut the ball loose. Stop playing so cautious all game long.
Yeah.
And I know Matthew Golden, their first round receiver's out. I know Jaden Reed, one of their better receivers, has been out for a while, broke his collarbone. But Christian Watson's back. Tucker Kraft is out, leads them in receiving yards. That's a big loss. So it's easy to point to what they're missing. I realize this offense is working with less than what they normally have. But they are so committed to running the ball. Over 20 carries for Josh Jacobs, under 4 yards a carry. They're not very efficient running the ball. Their yards per attempt is bottom 5 in the league. And Jordan Love is terrified of making a mistake. You cannot play the game that way. And what it's resulted in is the Packers having three losses this year where their defense allowed 16 or less points. So far this year, the league as a whole is 62-5. Teams are when their defense allows 17 or less points. You know what the Packers are? 1-3.
That's bad.
It's bad. It's really bad. It's inexcusable because if you're Matt LaFleur, you've got a defense. This is your dream. You're an offensive head coach that has historically been a pretty good offensive head coach. And you've got a defense that's holding teams to under 17 points in key games, and games you should win, by the way. And you're losing these games. So the Jordan Love, Matt LaFleur thing, especially the last 2 to 3 weeks, it's such a head scratcher. The decisions, all these things, like on fourth down towards the end of the game, when what felt like it was going to be the Packers' last, or it was the Packers' last possession. No, second to last possession for the Packers before they missed the field goal. They run up to the line of scrimmage. They have 2 timeouts. And I don't think this is a situation where it's like, hey, save your timeouts. No. Like, they've got to get the right play.
Yeah.
4th and 1, they go out of the gun. And because they have a light box, they decide to go ahead and run the play. Not only did the play not work, but there was a procedural penalty because they were so quick up to the ball and didn't even take their time to get the right play.
Yeah.
They lined up the wrong way. So even if they had gotten a first down, it was going to be a penalty and move them back 5 yards. And that's a coaching issue. It's like, Matt LaFleur, what are you doing? You've got 2 timeouts. It's 4th down. Nothing matters. If you don't get this play right, nothing else matters. And then after the game, Jordan Love says, well, we had a light box. Hey, by the way, a light box on 4th and 1 is way different than a light box on like 2nd and 5 in the middle of the game.
Yeah.
Why? Because defensive linemen in a 4 down scenario like that, defensive linemen have 1 gap.
Yeah.
And in 4th and 1, they are shooting that gap as hard as they can.
Yeah.
So it's a complete, I don't even care if there's a light box. It doesn't matter if you have number advantages. When you go out of the gun, and we didn't even do pet peeve today. One of my pet peeves that has to stop is shotgun runs on 4th and 1 inside zone.
Unless it's zone read.
Unless it's zone read.
Zone read's the only acceptable run on 4th and 1, like that has a little bit more juice.
When it's a big part of your offense.
When it's game on the line.
The Packers don't do that.
Yeah.
They don't really do that. And so saying I've got a light box, I'm going to go ahead and run it is a massive failure by Matt LaFleur and Jordan Love thinking that hey, it's kind of blindly just saying, hey, we had a light box. This is just what we do. Not on 4th down, you don't, with the game on the line. And by the way, everyone's seen the video. The Eagles defensive line was screaming inside zone this way. They knew it was coming. Yeah. You have 2 timeouts.
Just use a timeout.
And that's part of this is on Jordan Love. Because if Aaron Rodgers is a quarterback, he assesses what's going on and goes, I don't like this. Timeout.
Yeah.
I don't like this.
They're calling it out. Right? Let's get something better.
I don't like this. And no, we're not saving timeouts.
Yeah.
Just think, we might get the ball again. No, BS. You don't get this 4th down, the game is effectively over.
Yeah.
And that was among many other things throughout the game, that was a huge failure by the Packers and Matt LaFleur.
Yeah. I mean, I think the Packers honestly needed to take a step back and go back to Brett Favre and just think about his mentality. When you were saying all those things, it just made me think about Brett Favre. And I forget who told me the story. Maybe it was my dad when I was growing up or whatever, but Brett had thrown 3 or 4 interceptions in a game. And a lot of times when quarterbacks, I've done that, and it's not fun. You become a little gun shy, and guys look to you on the sidelines. Coaches come up to you asking if you're all right. They're all worried about you. And Brett was like, man, I just can't wait to go out there and throw another pass. And it's like, that showed his mentality. Like,
by the way, Jordan has 0 picks in the game.
Yeah. It's like, and
he's got like 3 all season. He's not throwing interceptions.
Listen, the way to be great, protecting, and my guess is LaFleur, they probably, and I've been on coaching staffs to do this, they show statistics on turnover margin and victories. So if we don't turn over the ball, we're going to win this percentage of time. But the problem with this is with statistics is you start pounding it in your players' heads so much, then they think about it, and then they're worried about making a mistake. It's like, listen, no, That's understood. If we turn over the ball, we're putting ourselves in a situation. Coaches, you guys can talk about that, but as players, like I've told coaches, like there's some statistics I do not want to hear. That's one of them. So by our preparation, by our mentality, by our play calling, by me being confident and aggressive, the byproduct of that will be less turnovers because I'm ready to play and I'm aggressive. When you play the game hesitant, you're late on your throws and you throw interceptions. There was another one.
That's what Jordan Love is.
He was
right
late
now.
on his throws because they are preaching. My guess is if you go in that facility, they are talking about it too much. If I'm the Packers, the coach, stop talking about it. The byproduct of you doing the things right throughout the week and teaching your quarterback to be aggressive at the right time, on time, in rhythm, not there, get it to the check down, is the byproduct of that is you're going to have success and you're not going to have that many turnovers. But also, if you do turn over the ball, they're not worried about it. The problem with this too is if that is banged into your head, the second a turnover happens in a game, all the players have been educated on, wow, our percentage of winning just went down to 20% because we turned over the ball. Listen, that's for you, coaching staff. You guys know that. Now, the way you structure your practice, your game plan, your drills, your fundamentals is to be a deterrent to turn over the ball. Do not pound that in your player's head because you're preaching this. And now when they turn over the ball, they think they're going to lose or the quarterback is hesitant. And honestly, on both sides of the ball last game, I thought both quarterbacks were really giddy to get out of the pocket. Yeah. There was multiple times where I saw both quarterbacks really quickly just keep going back.
Skittish.
And we're going to talk about A.J. Brown in a little bit. There was a play, and they showed it as a highlight, like where real quick, Jalen Hurts drops back and he scrambles to the left and he gets out of bounds for a gain of 3. Listen, I can't do what Jalen Hurts does running the ball, and that was actually an advantage to me throwing the ball because I was a gunslinger. I could sling it. If Jalen Hurts is me and he can't run, I know I'm not going to be able to do that. The read would take me to the middle of the field to where A.J. Brown is, and all I'm going to do is take a step back and I'm going to dump it right over the top within 1.5 seconds. A.J. Brown scoring a touchdown. I don't even know if they scored a touchdown on this drive. A.J. Brown is wide open. Yeah. He did a little stopping across the field, and those are the plays.
Other than Devontae Smith's touchdown, the biggest play of the game for the Eagles was when he dumped it to Saquon in the flat, and Saquon went like 50 yards. That was the biggest play of the game.
And this goes back to early in the year when we talked about progressions.
Yes. He went through it.
Quarterbacks that get through progressions. The reason why the checkdowns are big is if you look at the play, he's starting to the right, the progressions to the right. He feels the pressure and his body reacted. And this goes to training with quarterback coaches. Your quarterback coaches in practice need to train the checkdowns because you're not going to do them in practice. You're going to be aggressive down the field. This was a play. He reacted. He slung it out to the left to Saquon. Saquon had a lot of room and he had an amazing spin move to get up the sideline. You need to practice this in your fundamental. I don't know what the Eagles are doing. I don't know what anyone's doing, but you need to practice that in your fundamentals all the time to train that in the quarterbacks because those are huge plays. And that means Jalen Hurts doesn't have to scramble around and make plays because you can give to Saquon Barkley.
So we're highlighting, we're going to come to the Eagles in a second, but we're highlighting what Jalen did because it was off the conversation with Jordan Love and where Jordan Love's failures are right now in being too careful with the football. It's the biggest reason. Now, Matt LaFleur is not void of any blame, but it's the biggest reason why this team is losing games and their defense is only allowing 16 or less points. Because this is a top 6 to 7 roster in the league. It's inexcusable what they're doing against teams that are worse than they are and with how good their defense is playing. And part of this regarding, this risk-averse thing that we're dealing with Jordan Love. He's so risk-averse, it's killing their offense. And it shows up in another way against pressure. So this is him versus pressure and not versus pressures here. We're going to highlight the difference. So his completion percentage is 40.5, so 40.5% against pressure versus 80% this year, no pressure. That's way too big of a disparity. He's 4.4 yards per pass this year versus pressure versus 9.3 yards per pass, no pressure. Way too big of a disparity. The best quarterbacks in the league, when you bring pressure, that's when they're the most deadly.
Listen.
Right? Hold on, let me finish.
You finished.
He's one touchdown.
Yes, Dad.
One touchdown, one interception against pressure. One touchdown, one interception against pressure. Again, doesn't turn it over, but he's not productive. That's our point. That right there is a great example. We're not saying he's reckless. We're just saying he's way too passive and protective of the ball. One touchdown, one interception against pressure. 12 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, no pressure. Again, way too big of a disparity. You should be finding big plays against pressure. Part of this is on the floor. He's a 53 passer rating against pressure, and he's 121 against no pressure. So what's the answer? And by the way, the Eagles had a way of getting after him with a 4-man rush. They didn't have to bring a ton of pressure over the course of the game, which I thought was amazing because the Eagles really are not great at getting after the passer, but then again, they added Jalen Phillips into the mix, and it helped. But the disparity there between pressure versus no pressure, and again, we're not talking about interceptions going through the roof, because that would then imply, oh, he's being reckless, he's fine. He is being way too freaking careful, and it's killing this up. You cannot win in the NFL by saying, I'm not going to take that risk. And by the way, watch the film. There weren't even that many risks to be had. Just let the ball go. And that ball, you have windows down the field. They were playing some zone coverage. Romeo Doubs running dig routes down the field. Let the ball go. And it was driving Matt LaFleur crazy on the sideline. You could tell the frustration was there with him. They showed him looking at the tablet and then being, oh my God. Like what he was seeing is guys coming open late when Jordan Love tucks the ball and starts moving, right? And can't find open options down the field. So I want to talk about Matt LaFleur a second before we go Eagles. So go ahead. You got anything else to talk about?
I'm setting up a question for you.
Okay.
But there was a lot of insight. My thing is this. Okay, on the season pod, you do a great job researching everything. All the statistics, everything I just saw. First question, if you know all this information you just said about pressure, non-pressure, would you imagine other teams know that, and what are they going to give them
100%.
now? So what if you're another defensive coordinator, what are they going to see the rest of the year?
Pressure, unless you're the Eagles and you can start generating a lot of pressure with four-man rush. Either way, you got to find a way.
But those were simulated pressures.
Yeah, they were.
Vic Fangio is great with, and you and I love simulated pressures.
Love them
because you're four-man rush, and it makes the quarterback think he's getting blitzed, but he's not.
He doesn't know where the fourth man's coming from.
Exactly,
right?
and then you get the reason simulated pressures are good for the fans that don't understand what a simulated pressure is. They're blitzing 4, whereas a blitz is like 5 or more. And the running back is eaten up in protection as opposed to getting to his check down because that is his man. That's why you bring a simulated pressure is, 1, it speeds up the QB's mind, and it also eats up the running back, so he is now no longer an outlet. 2, when teams pressure, why should quarterbacks like that in a sense, and why should there not be so much of a disparity in the yards per attempt? Like what in the secondary has changed when pressure comes that actually opens up the passing game?
Oftentimes you end up having one-on-one situations somewhere, and you have to find that one-on-one, that advantage.
Yes,
right,
there are less individuals or players in the secondary because you are pressuring, which there is more error, more one-on-ones, and it leads to bigger plays. As long as the quarterback recognizes it and understands the game plan, understands where his hops are.
With elite passers.
The
pressure production goes way up.
If you look at the best pass, if you look at Pat Mahomes, if you look at Josh Allen, if you look at all these guys.
They're terrified to pressure.
If you go Baker Mayfield. Like go look at these guys right now and look at the statistics on when people pressure them. The way to stop people from pressuring them
dice them up.
Is dice them up. Hey, as a quarterback, everyone, you got to have a quick answer. And sometimes that's checking a route, making a slant route, making a protection call, whatever it may be. Teams should be ready to go when it's pressure, and they should attack it. And then once the receiver or tight end catches the ball, make a play. There's less guys out there. So with all those statistics shown, and we did praise Jordan Love and the Packers a few weeks ago, with what we're seeing right now, this team, they ain't making a run. There's no Super Bowl this year. You cannot win a Super Bowl with a quarterback that is this. He's a good player. He's a good quarterback. You will not win a Super Bowl being this passive. Like, now they can fix it and be like, hey, man, just let your nuts hang. Let it loose. Like if you throw an interception, it's okay. I wouldn't mind you throwing an interception 100%. Or two. I remember playing with Nelson Aguilar, and this statistic made me laugh with him. We were in, I don't know if it was a meeting. It might have been an off-season throwing session going to my second year in Philly or maybe my first year in Jacksonville here in California. And he was talking to some guys, and we were talking about ball, and he's like, yeah, man, Nick might throw an interception. We cool with that. We know that Nick's going to throw an interception, come back, throw 2 or 3 touchdowns. Yeah. That's the mentality that
you'll take that loss knowing that gains are coming.
And the reason that interception happened wasn't hesitancy. It was me probably throwing a ball in a window or down the field, and the guy just made a play, but I gave my guy a chance.
Nick, to sum it up, it's like, hey, Jordan, congratulations. In a close game, you didn't turn it over. He had a fumble. The fumble was stupid. But he didn't throw any interceptions. But hey, dude, by the way, you scored 7 points. That's not good enough, right?
Be aggressive.
Your 0 interception rate in this game, it didn't help us. You've got to be aggressive. So let me come back to Matt LaFleur for a second. And I bring this up. This is a big deal in my mind because this is one of the most stable franchises in all of sports. They don't make knee-jerk reaction decisions. Honestly, for that reason, I was surprised they went after Micah Parsons. It's not in their DNA to say like, hey, oh my God, there's a guy available. Let's give up a couple first-round picks. It's unlike Green Bay. They're a slow-moving, stable ship. Very stable. With stability at all the key positions for a long time. They don't fire coaches on a whim. They don't do this stuff, right? their new president, Ed Policy. Remember, this is a publicly held team. So like in essence, the fans own the team, but the president is the de facto owner, basically. He's making all the decisions. Ed Policy is their president.
He has policies.
There he does. He's the son of Carmen Policy, who ran back in the day ran the Niners. So there's his football DNA. And Brian Gutekunst, their GM, and Ed Policy made comments in the offseason that it's time for this team to start competing for titles again. And I say that because Matt LaFleur is in his 7th year in Green Bay. In his final year with Aaron a few years ago, didn't make the playoffs. In 2023, he was a 7 seed. In 2024, he was a 7 seed. He had a big win in 2023. I think they did it on the road against the Packers. Or excuse me, the Cowboys. That was a big win. And then in 2025, right now, it's them, Chicago, and San Francisco kind of competing for a 7 seed again. They are in 3rd place right now in the NFC North, behind the Bears. Still 7 games to play. Still a long way to go. I get it. But as of right now, one of those teams, them, Chicago, San Francisco, won't make it, right? Now, it's probably easy to say, like, San Francisco's probably not unless they get healthy. But Chicago, like, finding ways to win games in an ugly fashion. So Matt LaFleur right now has this year and next year remaining on his deal. And President Ed Policy has said more than one time, like, we don't want lame duck coaches. Like, he doesn't want Matt LaFleur coaching next year on no deal, with no deal in place for future years, right? They want to either get something done or make a decision on him before next season. And you might say, well, look, I mean, Matt LaFleur is a good offensive coach. He's proven that over the course of his time as a head coach, especially when he had Aaron, right? And like, he's brought Jordan Love along in some ways. So he's a good offensive coach. But I don't think you can ignore the fact, like I said a minute ago, that this is a top 6 to 7 roster in the league. And they are, like, it's fair to say now, based on 10 games, they are consistently losing games to inferior teams. The Eagles are not an inferior team, but generally speaking, they aren't even scoring that many points against them. And the Packers have pieces offensively. Do they have injuries? Yes, but every team has injuries, right? Have they lost some? Tucker Kraft hurt. Could he have been the difference in that game? Maybe. Because it looked like Jordan Love just couldn't figure out where to go with the football.
Yeah.
So maybe Tucker would have been the difference.
Yeah.
Right?
That's fair.
But being 3rd in the NFC North and basically trying to sniff a number 7 seed and being 1-3 in games where their defense held a team to 17 or less, whereas the rest of the league is 62-5 in those games. I do believe that for the rest of this season that Matt LaFleur is coaching for his job. He was asked about it after the game. And you could tell by the way he answered it that he knows it's a real question. He was very uncomfortable with the question, but he said, look, like, I'm always coaching for my job. He kind of went general with it, which was the right answer, right? But the media in Green Bay and the media nationally is acknowledging the fact that, like, hey, this team has been good, but this roster is too good for this team just to be good. Being a 7 seed and having an early playoff exit is not going to be enough for Matt LaFleur to keep his job this year. I really don't believe this. Going into the season, I didn't think by week 10 we'd be having this conversation, that Matt LaFleur is dicey. But this is the year that Jordan Love was supposed to take a step. Jordan Love, because of what the defense and the roster is, Jordan Love, I thought, was one of the more intriguing players this year, period. Because if he was a great quarterback, this is potentially a Super Bowl team. If he's not a great quarterback, this team could fall flat, which has happened so far, and you have to point to Matt LaFleur on that. Because they've made their bed with Jordan Love's not going anywhere. No. And so if they don't get it done, Matt LaFleur's future immediately comes into question, and that's where I think we are right now with the Green Bay Packers.
No, I think that's all fair, and the
of course it's fair. Kidding me? Like, they haven't re-signed him yet. This is the second to last year of his deal, and they may have another. They may not even make the playoffs, but at best they're probably going to be they're going to be a high seed, and they're going to probably have an early exit. Low seed is what I meant to say.
You know, say
7 seed.
Say LaFleur isn't the coach there. I mean, the coach that came to mind was Kubiak. Yeah. You know, I think Green Bay, you have Jordan Love in the situation. I mean, he's shown that, you know, obviously his dad's head coach, a lot of success, lineage, all those things. I mean, that'd be a good hire.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. I do. It'll be fun to watch him this year. I mean, LaFleur does have to win. I agree with everything you said. And, you know, my first thought is, all right, who is available, though, that you go get? Like, you're not going to get Mike McCarthy. He's already been there. But then the Kubiak came to me. I was like, you know what, Green Bay, you don't have to hire a guy.
They'll figure it out. That's one of the best jobs in football.
Yeah.
He's been there 7 years. It's a stable job. I don't even think that'll be part of who are we going to go get. They'll figure it out. Yeah. There are plenty of candidates out there. I think they can get virtually anybody they want. With that roster and having a young quarterback that we still think has a bright future, just isn't playing very well.
I mean,
there's answers.
But
point being, though, is not who's going to replace him. Point being is it's amazing to think by week 10, and I really mean this. This is not just for people to tune in and say, oh, they have a controversial take here. I really believe that Matt LaFleur's future in Green Bay is dicey right now.
Yeah.
And he's coaching for his job. They better figure it out because the way they're losing these games is inexcusable. Yeah. And the decisions made in that game, and I know he was frustrated because he's probably like, dude, Jordan, do what I tell you to do. Inexcusable. That's a game they should win. The Eagles were far from perfect. The Eagles don't even have a great pass rush, and they were getting after you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, there's just something within the walls of that facility that they're coaching that's paralyzing the team. And I do think if
Jordan Love is terrified.
It's statistics, and my guess is it's statistics and analytics. Statistics and analytics paralyze players. It's fine to be educated, but if you it's better for the coaches. Yeah. Coaches build our game plan and our structure of our practice and our routine around statistics and analytics. As players, just show us plays on film and build it around us and educate us on how to play the game the right way based on your knowledge as coaches.
Yeah.
Coaches do statistics and analytics to cover their butts. Let's just keep it real. They do that and say, oh, you turned over the ball. I told you we'd lose. Well, guess what? Like, you're paralyzing your players. The good teams they're aggressive. They're going to teach you how to win, and they're going to take that knowledge and just keep it to the coaches. So I do think Green Bay, hey, man, it's an intriguing coaching job. I mean, what a legendary team. I do love the fried walleye up there in Wisconsin. Yeah, the walleye's pretty good. Hey, cheese curds.
Cheese curds. So
I wanted to see if I could throw them
The fact that this ended with them trying to kick a 65-yard field goal, which, by the way, would have been the longest field goal in the history of Lambeau Field.
What did I text you right after that? That looked like us teeing off, trying to smash a drive and just yanking it.
To think like, hey, you know what we're going to do? We're going to kind of finish this thing off with and again, you might say, what were they supposed to do? Throw the Hail Mary? Yeah, I guess so, because you're going to try to kick the longest field goal in Lambeau Field history.
Cold, windy.
63 or 62?
64.
64 is the longest ever. It's cold. It's a little chilly. There's been colder games there. A little windy, and your kicker's not even 100%.
Oh, he's recovering from a pulled quad.
He got the practice one and was short.
He was short by like a yard or two.
But he was short. That's the biggest issue. I want to at least see the distance. If you pull it or whatever, okay, fine, make the next one. He was short.
Yeah.
So what does he do? Try to kick it harder on the next one and shakes the hell out of it. Or no, yanks the hell out of it.
If any of y'all play pickleball, you play golf, you play even as a thrower, and I know this when I go play golf. When we play golf, I was a thrower. Whenever I would throw smooth and relaxed, the ball would fly out. Whenever I tried to really muscle it, it comes out just fluttering and wobbly. Like if we go swing, whenever we're playing our best golf, it looks like we're not even trying to swing. And when we play with our buddies that are like scratch golfers or better, we watch them swing and we're like,
just watch Brendan Aubrey kick the ball.
And it's like, effortless. This is so smooth. And then we go up there and we're like, you get that mindset and you grip the club. And the second you grip the club tight, you're done.
You're done.
You're not supposed to grip the club tight.
You're done.
And then you swing with your muscle, you're done. It's like, just go up there. And whenever we swing smooth, when we don't care, we kill it. And we're like, that's too easy. It can't be that easy. Well, sometimes it is.
Okay, so let's come back to the Eagles real quick.
Yeah.
So I acknowledge, and this is really cool for the Eagles, Jalen Phillips played 52 snaps, 7 pressures, 6 tackles, 2 quarterback hits, and a fumble recovery. The return so far on your trade for a 3rd-round pick, and even if Jalen walks in free agency, the compensatory pick formula, you're probably going to get a 3rd-round pick back for him. So you can almost get him for free other than his salary this year. They're already getting returns, and that looks like a genius move so far. Jalen Hurts was 15 to 26. He was a 57% passer. 183 yards, 1 touchdown, no interception. There was a move late in the game that has gotten a lot of people's attention. 4th and 6 on the Packers 35 with about a minute and a half left. And I thought the obvious play there, and I thought what they were going to do out of the shotgun was do the quick kick and kill as much time as possible, meaning Jalen takes the snap, he kind of moves around for a second and kicks it down the field.
Have they done this yet?
I don't know, but if they haven't.
You said this, and I'm like, I don't think he's ever done this.
But if they haven't, that's a huge mistake. Every team needs a quick kick in their arsenal. I don't like if you don't work.
Who's doing a quick kick in the NFL right now?
Quick kicks.
This isn't college football.
I don't care. It's
you don't want your quarterback.
Nick, I could go out there and do it right now, and I don't even play football.
Yeah,
anymore.
You're not getting paid $300 million.
I could go out there and do.
I don't want a $300 million.
What's the objective? To win the football game. Okay,
then put your punt
what do
team
they
out
do?
there.
And even before the snap, Troy Aikman goes, "I can't believe they're snapping this." Right? And when they snapped it, I'm like, "Oh my God, they're going to throw the football here." And then they take a shot to AJ, and the ball's in the air, and I'm like, "This is the stupidest thing I've ever seen." Now, okay, keep this in mind. There's 2 worlds here. The second one is something, but I'm going to focus on the first one for a second.
You're giving me a lot of thoughts right now.
The first one is, let's say this was the play call, and you might be like, "What do you mean?" Well, I'll get to the second one in a minute. Let's say this was the play call of like, hey. Like they call the play in, let's take a shot to AJ, right? Or it was just part of what they were doing where if AJ's one-on-one, obviously that throw is there. And they throw it. That to me is extremely troubling because I thought set aside what's best for the team to win the football game and let's make AJ happy by taking a shot to him. I think that is complete bullshit if that's what they were doing.
Now we're explicit.
And that would really, I'm sorry, that would really piss me off if I were a member of that team. Now you might say, no, that wasn't necessarily the play call. Like the play call had him on a fly route, and since he got one-on-one, Jalen just decided to throw it. Okay, terrible decision by Jalen to throw that football. At best a 50-50 ball probably. And by the way, AJ's effort on that play sucked.
It was bad.
Okay, I've been in that situation before running a fly route with a corner on the inside of me. That was terrible effort on that play. It showed me that he's just kind of pouting.
Yeah.
Right? Eagles fans, I don't care if you think we're being too hard on him. That was BS effort on that play. Okay? That's the first world. Is the play call in and of itself was terrible. There are new reports that have emerged on good authority, according to some people in Philly, that Jalen Hurts went rogue with A.J. Brown on that, and that was not the play call from the huddle. And I don't know what the play call was. He decides to take, or maybe that was the play call. It was never supposed to go to A.J. It was supposed to take a safer throw. And they went rogue and took a shot. Both are a problem. But you might have a different take on that. Let's just say if they actually went rogue. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to go rogue, I would love to see A.J. Brown be a little bit more aggressive and go get that ball.
Right.
Okay, there's a lot here. I have a lot of thoughts on A.J. Brown and his play and everything in this game because it's a real topic. He's going to be traded in the offseason with how it is.
He should be.
He will be traded.
If they could have gotten comp for him so far, they should have already traded him.
Honestly, knowing Howie Roseman, he knows he's too valuable to the team this year, and they would have a void. I think he is.
Will Shipley had 7 touches. A.J. Brown had 2.
Listen, defenses still have to be aware of A.J. Brown. Let's just keep it. They're not as worried. So they still have to account for A.J. Brown. If you're going to do that and you do go rogue, which honestly, I feel like they had to have gone rogue on that. There's no way you're calling a play to throw a go ball on 4th and 6 in that situation. You're going to throw a slant route. You're going to throw a rub. You're going to throw a different concept that's a higher percent.
More likely than not, they went rogue.
My guess is AJ went up to him and was like, hey, throw me a go ball. And James was like, all right. That's my guess is how it went. And
that's your effort?
And the positive is this.
Dive over him.
The positive is this. They're talking. They're talking, and they did it. The negative is AJ has influence over his quarterback to make bad decisions in the game. Once again, I'm not calling the Eagles. I don't want to know. There's some guys that are always trying to get scoop from inside sources. I respect and love my guys in the Eagles, like the trainer equipment. I'm not going to put them in that position. I don't need to know that knowledge. We're always going to take it from the perspective of guys who were in the locker room that played and fans. So that being said, if you are going to do that and a receiver does ask for that, I mean, all he did was stick out. AJ, you are a big man. You are a big, powerful receiver. My guess is you're a good basketball player. I mean, a lot of receivers are good basketball players. Basketball is like a great bonding thing with football. Every football player wants to be a basketball player. Go get the ball. Go jump up and make an effort. Try to get a. Don't just reach out your left arm. Try. Go jump over the guy and grab it. So I doubt it was a play call. If it was a play call, bad play call. Better concepts. I doubt it was. If you go rogue, still a bad decision, but at least they're talking. Negative on that is AJ has influence over Jalen to make a bad decision. Now, let me go back early in the game. I'm watching this, and I've seen it for weeks and weeks. AJ seems like he recognizes coverages really well, which is really good at a receiver. You want receivers and tight ends that can recognize coverage, but it can be detrimental. Only if when you recognize a coverage and you think your route's dead. I saw it multiple times in the game with AJ. There was a time, it was Devontae Smith's touchdown. They went, maybe it was quarter halves or whatever. But anyway, there was a safety when AJ ran his 5-step little skinny route. AJ knew when he ran his route, the safety is there. He's not getting the ball. So he just out of his break, turns around, stops.
Throttles down.
Okay. Jalen made the right read. It's a touchdown. But I will say this. Say your quarterback's pressured. I'm going to go back to Zach Ertz when I played with Zach. Zach always gave me a throw no matter what. So what would Zach have done in that situation? Zach always felt like he could get open. So what do you do in that? You have a post. Well, you bend it. You almost run a curl route, and you protect the ball because there's some times where a quarterback gets pressured. And if I like with Zach, I knew every single time I dropped back, if I was in trouble, he would give me some sort of jersey or color, we would say, and I could throw him a ball to give him a chance because I knew he'd never give up on a route.
The play is always alive with Zach.
It's always alive. Yeah. And as a quarterback, I'm going to try to feed him when I'm in trouble. I can't feed AJ Brown when I'm in trouble. I can't feed him when I see earlier in the year there was a double little stutter move, and he stutters and he goes and he throws, and then he looks and Jalen throwing the ball.
Okay, let me ask you this: if Zach had 100 catches in a year, just to say hypothetically, what percentage of those were in situations where he kept going because he knew he had a chance at a ball if the play didn't go exactly as planned, and you found him? What percentage?
I would say if
over 50.
No, I mean, a lot of times they're built in, but I mean, it's a high percentage.
So it's enough to say, like,
always, yeah.
He might be 30 or 40% more productive this year if he approached things differently when the coverage is broke down.
Because the reason is this, the reason I say that, and this is for all young receivers and tight ends out there, when you go back and watch the film as a quarterback, I'm watching how each and every player is playing to talk to them, to educate them, to get better. If I see constantly a receiver throttling when he doesn't think the ball, and I've played with receivers
based on the coverage.
Based on the coverage. Hey, great job recognizing the coverage, but give me some color.
Keep
Bend
going.
it, flatten, curl. I see that, and I see that when I'm watching film. Though I'm throwing a touchdown over here to Devontae, I see that. I'm like, man, like whenever I'm in trouble, this guy never stops on his route. He runs through all his breaks. He's giving me color. He's coming down his stem.
That's in your subconscious.
It's in my subconscious. But with AJ, I constantly see the lack of effort on the big throws. And then I see him on the sidelines just sort of pouting, just sort of the body language thing.
Yeah.
Like I'm looking, he doesn't look eager to go out there. I don't know who's talking to him outside the facility, whether it's his agent or whatever, but someone's constantly telling him, hey, man, you deserve more. You deserve more. Listen, you are on, what are they, 7-2?
8-2.
8-2. You're on an 8-2 football team. You're going to, we say this every week. It's annoying that we keep talking about this, but this is important. Go talk. The best thing A.J. Brown can do right now, go sit in a room with Jalen Phillips right now and have an hour conversation. Yeah. Jalen Phillips is in Miami, where you could have been traded to Miami and you'd be losing. I mean, I know they got a big one, but you're not making the playoffs. You're not good. Your coaches are probably gone. Go talk to Jalen Phillips. He gets to Philly after 1 or 2 days. Man, this is the biggest. I am so grateful to be here. I am so excited to be here. I am so blessed. This is one of the best things that ever happened in my life. He was in a different regime. Hey, look what's happened to your Titans. The Titans aren't very good right now. You could be in Tennessee losing every game. Go talk to Jalen Phillips. Jalen Phillips goes out there with the right mentality and makes plays left and right. It's a mentality thing. You step on a field pouting or feeling like, oh, I'm not. Yeah. You're not going to play to your best potential. But if you go out there each and every play and you give it your all, I go back to, guys that come to my mind are like Nelson Aguilar. Nelson Aguilar didn't always get the ball, but he'd block when we'd bring him down, or if we had, I know we talked about a light box, if we had a heavy box and the strong safety came down, motion Nelson over, give him a point, he was going to dig out that safety. And then, then I'd hit him on a shallow route because he stayed in the game. Yeah. I wanted to get him the ball.
So we got to listen to what AJ Brown says, and it's a good. He tells us how he's feeling, right? He's that kind of guy. So there was a video on social media that was released on a Twitch, some platform where he's playing a video game with somebody. I don't even whatever. And he made a comment on there. The guy asked him, like, how are things going? He's like, family good, all that. And he's like, but come on, man, you paying attention? Like, it's been a shit show. That's what he said.
Yeah.
Okay, need I remind you, you're on an 8-2 football team, and you just said it's been a shit show.
They just won a Monday Night Football.
It's a shit show because the only thing you're worried about is your own production, right? And we just hit on a couple different scenarios where that attitude is starting to get in the mind. Like, for example, if your offensive coordinator actually called that play, you're having an adverse effect on him. Because that was, I don't care what anybody says, that was not the right play to call in that moment to take a 50-50 shot to A.J. Brown down the field. If your quarterback went rogue, the other world, you're having an adverse effect on your quarterback. Because Jalen's sitting there like, oh, man, he's only got 2 catches, man. We got to get him the football. Over what's best for the team in that moment. Big picture, is it best for the team to feed A.J. Brown? Yes. Look, Kevin Patullo's got to figure this out. How does A.J. Brown get 2 catches? That's ridiculous, right? But that's not happening. We've acknowledged that. But separately, the way A.J.'s handling it is having an adverse effect on those around him, and it almost costed them a football game.
Yeah.
On the 35-yard line, if the Packers could somehow
do something,
muster together two completions and get to like a 45-yard field goal, tie game,
overtime.
And guess what? Going to overtime, the home team probably favored in that moment, right? It almost costed you a football game because you're so concerned about getting this cat the football.
Yeah.
Do you need to give him the ball more? Yes. But when it shows up in that moment, whether the coaches called it or whether the quarterback went rogue, this is a serious problem. And Nick, I'm going to say it again. I'm not saying you're saying this. I'm just interpreting, like, I'm taking your feedback on this. This team, they probably couldn't get the right compensation for him midseason. It's why they didn't make a trade now. And they probably think they need him the rest of the year and they need to replace him if they get rid of him. They want to wait till the offseason. Fine. But this dude is gone. He is not going to be on this football team next year, barring something miraculous taking place between now and the end of the season. This is not good for their team. It's ridiculous they have to keep talking about it. And it's not just talking about it. It's affecting decision-making on the field in a way that's hurting the football team, especially late in games like this. You know what I'm saying?
No, I get what you're saying. And the thing he's got to realize, too, is the more you do this, the less confident Jalen Hurts is in you. I know you have a relationship with him and everything, but as a quarterback, when I have a receiver, and I played with some superstar guys that wanted the ball, and but I never played like Deshaun Jackson. But, like, he kept playing. Mm-hmm. Like, I knew I needed to get in the ball. In the same situation, but I don't ever remember him like, yeah, he might get frustrated, but he still brought it each and every play. He still tried to get open. He still ran if he had a post route. Now, as a quarterback, I'd be like, hey, man, I'm going to get to you. Just keep going, keep going, keep going. I don't ever remember playing with a guy on good teams. Now, maybe on good teams that was like this. And you could say, fans will be like, well, Nick, if Jalen would have thrown it underneath on that shallow route, A.J. Brown gets a really easy touchdown, but Jalen Hurts missed the throw. Well, I will tell you this. This has been a conversation all freaking season. As a quarterback, trust is a big, big, big thing. Trust is it's leaving Jalen Hurts. He might not say it, but it is. The more this happens, the more I see you stopping on routes, the more I see you reading coverage and not trying to get open even though you're technically not going to be there. Occasionally that happens. I mean, I threw Alshon Jeffrey, a great example. We were playing the Rams, and he knew basketball player. We were both basketball players. I said, man, you better be ready anytime. Talib's on him. Talib's a great corner. Mm-hmm. I think Talib even picked me off in that game. He came off on a corner route. It should have been a touchdown. Made a great play. I went up to him. I was like, dude, great play. Frick. I didn't think you were going to do that. Great job. That probably routed him that I congratulated him on making a great play. I threw a back shoulder dagger route. Do you even know what that is? No one knows what that is. You don't throw a back. I threw it to Alshon Jeffrey. Talib cut the route, was underneath. It was a back shoulder this way, and Alshon threw out. You don't throw that route. There are techniques that you spin out of it, but he always knew I would throw it. The more A.J. Brown does this, the harder it is for Jalen Hurts to get him the ball even when he's open over the middle and could score a touchdown, because in his mind, he's not trusting that you're going to run the route. Yeah. You're thinking too much. Just run the route, run the concept, show your quarterback that you're going to go every single play and you're always trying to, even if you're not getting the ball, good things will eventually happen. Yep. And it's just tough, man. It's a perspective thing for him.
AJ's going to find out the hard way that, and is he talented enough to be getting the ball more? Have they invested enough in him to warrant getting the ball more? 100%. Kevin Patullo's missed the mark there. No, I'm acknowledging that. But he's about to learn the hard way that good organizations, no one's above the team. And the reality is this has just gotten ridiculous. And I know they're continuing to win, but guess what? They're continuing to win really not needing him all that much, which says a lot about what this team is. This team is fantastic situationally. Yeah. They don't turn the football over, all those things. And I think the risk they run by not moving on from him before the trade deadline, and I really believe this, I think the risk they run is continuing to devalue his trade stuff. Yeah. Because if he bitches the rest of the season and just kind of becomes this aloof guy that gives you effort sometimes, not all the time. I mean, the Colts just gave up 2 for Sauce Gardner, 2 firsts. Like, you think you're going to get a team to really step up? I think it's going to hurt his trade stock. And I think that's the one thing Howie has to continue to grapple with is like, well, not anymore because the trade deadline passed, but he's sitting there being like, if this continues, I'm going to move on from him. But the problem is like, I'm not going to get as much because he's becoming a pain, right? And I shouldn't say becoming, he is a pain. And that's where it's at. Look, the Eagles win games. It's unfortunate we have to keep talking about it. It is a story. Will he make plays in key moments down the stretch? Possibly. But this is seeping into the psyche of the staff, the quarterback, and it almost put him in a position to have a game tied that had no business being tied, and it was silly. And it's because he continues to complain it's not good for the team.
And my last thought before you go, I just hope his perspective changes. I know he's in it right now. It's not going to change. I know he's in it right now. I always try to end in a high note with a positive. I don't want to be negative.
Go ahead. You do it.
I'll do it. Listen, you could go to another team, and like the team in the offseason that makes the most sense is the New England Patriots. But are they going to give them to a team that they think is a contender in the AFC? I don't know. But Mike Vrabel, Patriots, that makes a lot of sense for him in the future.
I don't see Vrabel giving up what it's going to take to get him because they're trying to build a winner.
But my thing is this. All right,
That
say
much in a
say,
receiver.
say AJ Brown goes to a team and you catch for over 1,500 yards a year. You're making all these plays. You're scoring touchdowns. You're doing all these things. You don't make a playoff. You don't make the playoffs again the rest of your career. But your statistics are through the roof. You're going to be miserable, dude. Like you are. When you look back at your career, I mean, football's. You learn a lot through losing. You learn a lot through valleys, but it's really fun to win. It's really fun to be on these teams and these cultures. Right now, you are in a situation in a winning culture, in a winning organization that just won a Super Bowl, and you are a really, really, really good team. If you throw this away because of your perspective of what's going on and how you're acting, you're going to look back when you leave the game of football and be like, man, I wish I would know what I know now then. Yeah. And I'm trying to tell you that now. Winning games and having an opportunity to go for Super Bowls is a really, really special thing.
And you've been paid.
And you've been paid. That is really special, and every game has meaning, and then you hit the playoffs, and you get to make plays, and it's awesome. And then you get to look back at your career, and you have those amazing moments. And you're not going to think back. Like, people bring up the 7-touchdown game. They bring up all these statistics, Pro Bowl, all that. Man, the fact that I was blessed to be on a part of the Philadelphia Eagles organization and be a part of a team that was all about team. When guys got injured, guys stepped up, coaches were there coaching us every day, and we all bought into each other. We had team meetings where we brought together when everyone outside doubted us, when I started playing. Those moments are the most it doesn't matter what I did on the field. I don't even look at statistics. The coolest thing I think about in the Super Bowl is not – people think the Philly's special. No, it's my interception. I threw an interception in the Super Bowl. That's one of the coolest plays I think about. You know why? Not 1 ounce of me cared at that point. Yeah, I cared that I threw an interception, but I didn't worry. I didn't get scared. I wasn't frightened. I went to the sidelines with all the guys. No one batted an eye. We're like, all right, defense is up. Let's get ready to go. I think about that, and like that's our mentality is like we made a mistake. I made a mistake, but we were all in it. So we knew we were so good. We knew we were ready to go, and we were together as a team. Everyone just got back, looked at the tablet, talked through it, and we went back out there again, and we kept going. Those moments are really, really special, but you have to be on a good team to have those. We talk about moments. Yeah. Listen, you might catch a one-handed touchdown, but if you're on a team that's not going to make the playoffs in a meaningless game, no one cares. Yeah. You have your own highlight tape. So my whole thing is this. AJ Brown, like I think you're a great player. I don't know him personally. I know, hey, I'm sure guys in the locker room, all that. I'm sure it's blown out of proportion, maybe a little bit. Perspective. Like this is really, really special. You're very blessed to be on a great team. You are a great player, but like let's show it on the field every single play. And let's be a role model to these younger players and these kids that are watching you. Because these kids are also seeing you complain. Yeah. And now they're going to think that's okay. So my big thing is like perspective. Whatever that is, whatever it takes, just go talk to Jalen Phillips. Go talk to someone because this is a very special time for you.
Be a guy to carve your own path. Yes. Meaning like their run game is not as productive as it was last year. So their play action game is not quite as good. And their drop back game isn't great. But like you said earlier, there's specific examples where coverage may break down. And if you're still going 100 miles an hour, maybe you have another 15 catches this year. Be a guy where the staff says, you know what, we're not doing a great job getting him the football.
Let's get him the ball.
We're not doing great at it so far this year, but man, that dude just keeps going. And he's found ways to like still be productive. Yep. Be that guy, dude, right? Like at the very least, be that guy. Yep. All right. Let's transition a little bit to randomness of the NFL this season and do a quick overview of the AFC, NFC big picture. Nick, how about this? The landscape of the league right now is so messy that the Chiefs are the betting favorite, along with the Rams. They're the co-betting favorite to win it all at 6-1 money, even though if the playoffs started today, they would not even be in the playoffs if they started today. How about that? So in the AFC, they would not even be the 7 seed if the playoffs started today, and they are the betting co-favorite to win the Super Bowl. That's how messy the landscape is this year. And according to many playoff simulations out there, the Patriots and the Colts are the top contenders for the AFC 1 seed. Okay, who saw? And will that play out that way? We'll see. I do think they're going to win the AFC East over the Bills, the Patriots, that is. And the Colts, looking a little shaky the last couple weeks. I know they won in overtime in Berlin, but Daniel Jones has been hit more. Thankfully, Jonathan Taylor's continued to be a monster. But who saw that coming? The Patriots were 80-1 to win the Super Bowl before the season. 80-1. You bet $100, you win 80x your money. You know what they are now? 17-1. The Colts were even longer, 100-1 before the season to win the Super Bowl. 100-1. You know what they are now? 9-1. No one's ahead of the Chiefs at 6-1, who, by the way, again, would not even make the playoffs. 24 teams before the season started had better odds than the Colts and the Patriots to win the Super Bowl this year. 24 of the 32. That's 2/3 of the league. Right? 2/3? 24 over 32? 8 goes into 24 3 times. 3/4, 75%.
Yeah, 3/4.
75% of the league. Quick math.
Yeah.
Obviously, the quarterbacks for both teams have been better than anyone imagined. So I'm going to start with the AFC, Nick. Do we have any idea who the best team in the AFC is?
No.
And just to be clear, because I don't want you to forget anybody. So those teams, the candidates for that answer are the Chiefs, the Bills, the Colts, the Patriots, the Ravens, the Chargers, the Broncos. All these teams, with the exception of the Ravens, who arrows pointing up but don't have they're 4-5. All these teams, I'm leaving the Steelers out on purpose because they are hideous in so many ways, and they're not going to sustain this. Of those teams, anybody jump out as the best team in the AFC?
My quick answer is no.
Okay.
If I've learned anything about this NFL season, is no team in the AFC is premier right now. But if I had to give a team an answer, right now I'd say Patriots.
Okay.
I mean, Mike Vrabel, historically great head coach. And honestly, what I'm seeing out of him is he's evolving.
Yeah.
He's changing. He's always been this like hard-nosed sort of guy, but like they make comments in the last game. He's becoming more of a player's coach, which is interesting. And that means a lot to players. Like if it becomes authentic. I mean, you see him going over when guys are injured. Every guy that's injured going over to him, like even holding their hand, it's like different. And he's like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what it is, but like he's checking on them. And then when they're going in the tunnel after games, like he's slapping everyone fives and he's doing something different.
Yeah.
And I like it.
Yeah.
I really like it. So if I had to choose a team right now, which I think it's all up in the air.
I think it's Patriots.
I like the Patriots. I know Vrabel has that hard-nosed approach that he learned from Belichick, but he's bringing in that player's coach mentality that like I really like.
So Drake May has 100 excuse me. Drake May has 100 or more passer rating in 8 of 9 games this year. And by the way, it's not like the offense is completely stacked. Their offensive line's like solid. Yeah. They're getting more out of Travion Henderson at running back, who probably is going to get more carries. Their receiving core is solid. No, I wouldn't say there's like a true number one. Even though Stephon Diggs is really good, they don't have like that true alpha one, which is
actually good.
Yeah, it's probably a good thing.
It becomes an issue sometimes, as we've talked about.
They have a lockdown corner in Christian Gonzalez.
Yeah, he's good.
He missed some time this year, but when he's out there, they're 7-0. They are 7-0 in Christian Gonzalez.
Hey, man, you got those good DBs. It makes it tough on the offense.
And they're 5-0 on the road. And this game was a validator.
And they won the NFC
Tampa.
North.
This was a validator.
They were NFC North champs.
Yeah. You're a good point. This was a validator in that win at Tampa. So I'm not far off with you there. Now let's take a look at the Colts for a second. Number 1 in scoring offense, number 1 in yards per play, number 1 in total offense. 30 or more points in 5 of the last 6 games. Now, with the Colts, I really do feel that their ceiling, because I think they have so many solid parts to what they do. But if we're talking in the context of Super Bowl, their ceiling is Daniel Jones. So the last 2 weeks, he's been hit more, and the mistakes have started to come out a little bit more. Did not look good the first 3 quarters against Atlanta last week in Berlin, and did not look very good the week before when they turned it over 6 times against the Steelers. So Daniel Jones is the ceiling. We've seen Daniel Jones at times in his career not look good with poor infrastructure around him in New York. Where does it go from here? We'll see. I do think Jonathan Taylor, if he can continue this, he had over 230 yards last week. And I think as a team, they had over 280 yards rushing. There's been no there's been no running back MVP in the league since 2012. And if the Colts can continue their success, it's going to go hand in hand with Jonathan Taylor continuing to play well. So I think he's absolutely an MVP candidate. But the Colts obviously are interesting to keep an eye on. Let's come back to the Chiefs. So the only real knock on them at this point is their run game is questionable, given how far they've come this year. But Mahomes has had a lot of success over the course of his career without remarkable run games, right? So you think they could possibly overcome this. So they're absolutely in that category. The Broncos have trailed in every game they've played this year at some point, but they've won 7 straight. They have a good coach. They protect their own passer and they rush your passer really well. But it doesn't really feel sustainable with them. And I think the Ravens are the wild card. 30 points a game and 6 yards of play when Lamar Jackson plays. And Lamar Jackson is back. When he's healthy, they're legit. I think there's no question in my mind they're going to win this division, even though they're only 1 game behind the Steelers now. And the Steelers lead the NFL in 3 and outs. I mean, that was painful to watch them against the Chargers. That does not look like a team that's about to win the AFC North.
It does not.
Right? So the AFC is very interesting because of the Colts and Patriots and wondering if they can sustain this. And then veteran teams like the Chiefs and then newer teams like the Broncos, we were like, how's this going to go? And then the Ravens. When going back to the beginning of the season, we thought they had a chance to go to a Super Bowl. They're creeping back into that conversation. And their defense has now become adequate. They've gotten healthy and they're better. They're still statistically on the season pretty low, but things have gotten better.
What a story that would be.
Let me finish with the Bills for the AFC. And I said 5 weeks ago, I think the Bills have a very flawed roster. Then they go beat the Chiefs, and we're like, we feel a little bit better about them. They've fallen significantly in the odds to win the Super Bowl. They have a terrible run defense, number 26 in the NFL. Devon Achane for Miami had 174 yards and 2 touchdowns on 22 carries against the Bills last week. They lost 30-13 at Miami. The Chiefs were forced to throw it a ton against them, and they had some answers to that because they built a lead against the Chiefs. They were able to hide their run defense. But I think they're way too reliant on Josh Allen. He's got to be Superman for them to win every week. And they really don't have a true number one option either. Dalton Kincaid kind of becomes that, but that can't be your true number one.
No,
Dalton Kincaid's a good tight end, but he's not Travis Kelce. And he really needs to be a complementary piece in the passing game, and they ask too much of him too. So the fact that Josh Allen has to be Superman, I think spells trouble for this team, and I think you're probably looking at a first or second round exit for the Bills in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I don't even think they win their division. I really don't. The NFC, on the other hand, so that's the AFC in a nutshell for you. The NFC, on the other hand, I think it comes down to these 4 teams: the Rams, the Seahawks, the Lions, and the Eagles. And right now, Nick, I really believe this. I think the Rams and the Seahawks are the 2 best teams in football. Will it persist? I don't know. But I think through 10 games, it's a pretty damn good sample size. We're over halfway through the season. I think the Rams and the Rams and the Hawks are the 2 best teams in the league. Hawks, best point differential in the NFC. Tied for fewest sacks allowed on offense with Denver. They're loaded with speed on defense. And really no glaring issue to speak of. And Sam Darnold is playing out of his mind. The Rams are the number 1 overall team by Pro Football Focus. And as far as the way they're rated in all the various categories, they are number 1. They have a pure pocket passer who is the best in football right now. Matt Stafford is playing out of his mind. Like 13 touchdowns in the last 3 games. Ridiculous. And like 1 interception, something like that. And they play this weekend, by the way. That is the game of the week, Rams Seahawks. They play twice the rest of the season. So what do you think in the NFC? Who's your top team right now in the NFC? Are you even able to tab one?
I'm not able to tab one. I think all 4 of those teams are elite and a lot. I mean, I think they're better than the AFC. I think AFC has got a lot of issues. But I mean, I do have a different perspective. I mean, I go with Philadelphia. I mean, you got the defending Super Bowl champs. We talked a lot on this show today about issues within the locker room, but that's just one player, right?
So this is your best team in the NFC
right now because they're defending Super Bowl champs. They're 8-2, and they're still finding ways to win the game.
They beat the Rams, by the way.
And they beat the Rams. So I don't think I can say there's a team better than them yet because no team has proven that over the longevity of the season. And like you said, they already beat the Rams. So I think it's a tight race, and I think all those teams are elite. But I still have to tab though we are critical on certain aspects of Philadelphia, and it's really just one player. Mm-hmm. Everything else is pretty solid. I know offensively, they have spurts where they're really good and they digress, but I would say if I'm choosing a team right now, it's got to be Philadelphia because no one's proving to overtake them. Yeah, I mean,
shocker.
I try to keep it honest. I mean, they're defending Super Bowl champs.
If on a neutral field right now, if the Eagles played the Rams, what do you think the spread would be?
I think it'd be Eagles minus.
When I say neutral, you don't play neutral unless it's the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I know.
Get it. But I'm just trying to make a point. What do you think the
Eagles
spread would be?
minus 1.
You think the Eagles would be favored?
By 1 point.
I don't think they would be. I think the Rams would be. All the metrics right now point to the Rams. They're a good defensive football team. They have a ton of options on offense to throw the ball to. No one's playing better than Matt Stafford. I realize the Eagles have shown, and again, this is a big compliment to the Eagles, fantastic situationally. And they really don't give the ball away. They're not going to beat themselves.
Unless it's 4th and 6.
Yeah, very good point. They're not going to beat themselves.
Yeah.
Meaning, they're not going to do something stupid and give you the ball late to lose the game. Now, they might be flat offensively, and it might turn out to be a loss, and you're like,
but then the defense is playing great. I will say this, as a team, Philadelphia is finding a way as a team. If the offense isn't playing well, the defense plays well. If the defense is having a subpar game, the offense plays better. So they're playing great team ball. That would be an amazing game to watch right now on a neutral site.
On the one hand, you could say, man, what a random NFL season between the AFC and NFC. This is super random, not necessarily what we expected. But on the other hand, it makes for some great theater. As we get down, we're past the halfway point. We're at week 10. Some teams have played 10 games. Or we're going into week 11. Some teams have played 10 games. Some teams have played 9 by virtue of their bye. It makes it really intriguing down the stretch to see who's going to separate themselves. Because on the one hand, you have these sort of teams that are surprising you, and you're still wondering, even in week 11, can they maintain this? I would say the Colts being one of them and the Patriots being the other one, because we've never seen it.
Yep.
And then you have, and even the Rams, I would put them in that, even though they almost beat the Eagles last year, right, in the playoffs.
Yep.
And then on the other hand, you have these season championship teams like the Chiefs and the Eagles, where you're like, or does the cream rise to the top? And is that what we see again this year? That's going to be a ton of fun to watch. One more point, and I brought this up about Jonathan Taylor, and I'm going to keep hammering this because this is awesome. So the league has not seen a running back MVP since 2012. We mentioned that in Andrew Peterson. He currently leads the league in rushing yards, rushing touchdowns, and yards per carry. And one thing to keep in mind, because people have said, Evan, stop. Like, Saquon had 2,005 rushing yards last year and didn't win the MVP. Jonathan Taylor's not going to win it this year. My retort to that is this. Saquon didn't break any records last year. And I do think it's going to take Jonathan Taylor breaking a record, and I'll get to what those are in a second, to win the award. Can that happen? Yes. Is he on pace? No. Even though he's on pace for a lot, he's not on pace to break any records yet. He needs to either break the rushing yards record in a single season, which is Eric Dickerson at like 2150 or something like that.
In less games.
Correct. Yeah. But it doesn't matter. If he gets to 17, they'll read an asterisk, but it's still a record, right? Or he needs to break the single season rushing touchdown record set by LaDainian Tomlinson, which is like 28, I believe it is. It's 28 in 2006. So I think he needs to break a record. But here's another important thing. There also has not been, other than Matt Stafford, there hasn't been this stellar quarterback play like there was last year with Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson to say like, that's for sure where the MVP award is going.
Obvious.
So Jonathan Taylor could benefit from the fact that like there's no clear option other than Matt Stafford keeping this up of like, no, sorry, dude, it's a quarterback award. That guy's winning. Okay. So a running back needs to hit 2,000 yards to have a real shot. No question about that. And currently right now, Jonathan Taylor has 1,139 rushing yards through 10 games. If you do the math, he's on pace for just under 2,000, 1,936. That's after a huge game last weekend. And I mentioned that the record is Eric Dickerson at 2,105 in 1984, and that was 16 games. So can he surpass that? It's possible. It's going to take a lot of production. He's got 15 rushing touchdowns, Jonathan Taylor does, and 2 receiving touchdowns. He's on pace for 25 to 26 rushing TDs. LT, LaDainian Tomlinson, holds the record with 28 in 2006. It's going to be tough to beat that.
Yeah.
But they're very reliant on him. So most importantly, he has to stay healthy. But he even has to pick up his pace a little bit more. And then lastly, the Colts need to stay in contention and stay relevant.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I'll say is if Jonathan Taylor's putting out these ridiculous numbers and somehow gets himself on pace to be like at 21 or 2,200 yards, in all likelihood, that's going to go hand in hand with the Colts winning games. It's hard to believe he's that productive and the Colts aren't winning.
Yeah, they need to win games for him to have a chance.
So I think that'll take care of itself. Now, he's got 189 carries this year. He's on pace for 320. Just a note, last year, Saquon had 345. So it's not like Jonathan Taylor is being required to carry at a rate that is like not like it. His load is sustainable, right? And his big play potential is very similar to Saquon. Like you catch, like we saw that big play, catch a sideline, he's gone. Like there's breakaway speed with him. So
he's a stud.
The last thing I'll say about Jonathan Taylor is this. They are 8-2 right now as a football team. And I unequivocally believe this. They're probably 3-7 without him. You want to know why? So we talk about in baseball, like wins over replacement, right? You're trying to compare him to the guy behind him. And like, is it the offensive line? Is it the offense? How's he doing this? Jonathan Taylor has over 800 of his 1,139 of his 1,100 yards this year. Over 800 is after contact.
It's insane.
Right? Okay, so is the offensive line good? Sure.
They're not.
But people are bringing him down, and he's pulling away. He has big play potential. He can run through you. The combo of power and speed is wild.
Yeah.
Right? So this is a great story this year. I hope it continues. We might be here week 15 saying, Jonathan Taylor fell off. He got nicked up, missed a game, and they just haven't run it as well. Very possible. But we're now in week 10. We're not like week 5 where it's like, hey, let this thing kind of normalize a little bit. It has normalized, and this dude is dominating. So from that standpoint, like I kind of hope the Colts persist because I want to see what this guy can do. If they're playing well, he's playing well. Quick side note on Christian McCaffrey, because we can't talk about these running backs and what they're doing without mentioning him. The Niners aren't going to get a ton of attention until we get down the stretch because everyone's wondering, like, they're too beat up. Can they really? Christian McCaffrey has 626 rushing yards this year and 692 receiving yards.
Yeah.
That's 1,318 scrimmage yards on the season. He's on pace for over 2,200 total yards, 25 touches a game, and he's on pace for 423 touches on the season. Christian McCaffrey is playing out of his mind. I worry for their sake that he's getting too many touches because too many catches too. You take all these weird hits, and I worry about him getting hurt. Christian McCaffrey's not in play for the MVP. And I'm just pointing out, if we're going to talk about high level of production like we always do at quarterback, and now we're talking about with Jonathan Taylor, and there's no receiver right now. It looks like they're going to break a record. Christian McCaffrey has been out of his mind this year, and we'd be remiss if we didn't at least mention him in this topic as well. You know what I mean?
I think Stanford guy. Bring it.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, it's
one of Stanford's greatest.
I think the NFC is a little more sort of as predicted, right? You got the Eagles, the Rams were good last year, they're back in the mix. Seattle's been a surprise. We didn't talk a ton about the Lions, but the Lions are going to be there in the end as well. But the AFC is so wild and so much going on. The Colts are such a big part of that. And it's awesome to see what Jonathan Taylor is doing this year. And I think we have to bring that up.
I would love to see Jonathan Taylor win the MVP.
Awesome.
I would love for him to win it.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
And it's a realistic look. A lot left to do. The biggest thing is stay healthy.
Yeah.
That's the biggest. With this amount of carries and all this, it's like getting over 2,000. You're almost as lucky as you are good because you just have to not get nicked up or not pull a hamstring or whatever it is, right? So that's where we are. Okay, so before we get to picks, just a quick note. What we're going to do here is we are going to choose like 2 to 3 games that we each love, or we might kind of overlap on some of these as well, and give these a little bit more attention because there are some awesome games this week. So instead of like rattling off our picks for each game, we want to focus on a couple that we like, the matchups we like in particular. So Nick, why don't you open it up and pick a matchup you really like this week?
Yeah, I'm going to go with it's intriguing. We talked a lot about Dayball being fired and Kafka becoming the interim head coach. It's always fascinating to see what an interim does in the next game. So Green Bay at New York Giants. Green Bay -7. Who you got?
Oh man, the interim factor I think is in play. Will they get a bump? I'm going to assume Jackson Dart is healthy. I just don't see enough from. What's that?
Jameis is starting.
Jameis is starting.
Yeah.
Oh, we just got word that Jameis is starting. I know Jackson Dart had been. I know they moved Jameis to 2, which means Jameis is your starter.
I feel like the Giants should be picked to win now.
I don't trust. Look, I like Jameis. He's exciting. He's like the opposite of Jordan Love as far as like, hey man, you want to see someone take risks? Jameis is like, watch me play. I'll show you how to take some risks. So we're gonna see.
I love it.
We're gonna see like 2 opposite characters in this game. I don't think that's gonna fare too well against the Packers defense. As frustrating as the Packers are, they are nails on defense. Their defense is Jeff Hafley's been their defensive coordinator has been awesome this year. That defense can get after the passer. They stop the run. I think it's gonna be and remind you, like, Malik Neighbors is not playing. He's been out for a while. Their number 1 option. Cam Scadaboo's out. I think it's going to be a tough day. And I think the Packers, even though I don't love what they're doing offensively and Jordan Love has to come out of his shell a little bit, 7 is a lot of points. God, Jameis is intriguing, though. That'll make me watch. I don't even know if I'd watch otherwise, even though I don't.
That's why I chose this game. It's not a great game to choose, but.
All right. So I think at first glance, the line looks too big. And for that reason, I'm going Green Bay because I think the Giants are going to struggle to move the ball.
Okay. Well, I already did it with my hands. Jameis eats W's.
You think they're going to win?
Yeah.
You think they're going to beat the Packers?
I think they could blow them out. I think it could be like an ugly loss.
Who's he going to throw to?
I don't know. Himself. I just love Jameis. I love watching him. I know he, once again, eats W's. I don't know. The
Packers' defense is really good. As bad as that game was,
but they also
their defense is good.
But let me remind you, the Packers also played down to the quality of their opponent.
That's a really good point.
And
who have they lost to this year? They've lost to the Giants. They've lost to Carolina.
Yeah.
They've lost to the Browns. They almost got beat by Arizona, and they tied the Cowboys. So that's a really good point.
And they haven't played as polarizing of a quarterback that eats W's as Jameis. I just think, you know what? There's going to be a different energy in the facility. Jameis is going to bring it. I mean, it could go really bad too, but I just feel like this could be a game at home. Jameis is going to show out. It's going to be fun to watch. I'm actually intrigued by it. Will it be sustained throughout the course of the year? It usually isn't with the interim head coach, but the game after a coach is usually let go, there's like a renewed, and even if you like the head coach, it's just you're either angry and you're just more ramped up and ready to go. So in that sense, I'm choosing the Giants to cover, but I could see them winning this game, and it being like, what the heck just happened, sort of thing, and then everyone is just dogging Green Bay.
All right. I mean, I like it.
It's a big prediction. It could have been a bold. It wasn't a big pick Nick prediction because I have another game for that, but I have that game circled as a very intriguing because of all the characters involved.
Okay, I'm gonna go Kansas City at Denver for obvious reasons. Right, the Chiefs at 5-4, they cannot go to 5-5 and have people feeling good about how things are going to be the rest. This is a must-win for the Chiefs. The Broncos, on the other hand, like there's some breathing room here, right? I mean, this is an 8-2 football team. They've won 7 in a row, but they've done it like they've trailed in every game they've played. It's not been, Bo Nix has not had a very good year, right? Like offensively they've been almost kind of boring, but their defense is good, and Denver's a difficult place to play. This game is at Denver. Sean Payton was asked about how they're winning, and I actually thought this was a good answer. I don't really love the way Sean Payton answers questions for the most part, but somebody tried to ask him about, hey, coach, you guys are 8-2, you're winning games. And before the guy could even make his next comment, Sean Payton goes, you going to say but? But no, there is no buts, is what he said. He goes, no, we're 8-2. Are there things we could do better? Sure. Are you asking me if I'm comfortable? I wouldn't be comfortable if we were 10-0. We're always trying to get better. It was the right answer. But he goes, don't follow that up with a but. Which we all know what the writer meant by that, right? It's like some of these wins are ugly, and you're trailing, you're finding ways to come. You're the best fourth quarter team in the league. That's the Broncos right now. They have had some gnarly comebacks in the fourth quarter. I think this game is close. This is a must win for the Chiefs, but it's a divisional game on the road, and it's 4 points right now. Denver's 8-2 at home. They know how big this game is. Denver has holes, but then again, so do the Chiefs. I like Denver +4. I'm not picking the winner on this. I like the points. With that defense, the Chiefs have not been great running the ball. I like Denver being able to get after Mahomes a little bit. And I think they find, like Sean Payton is a good football coach. I think they find ways to get Bo Nix going a little bit here. And I think this game is really close. I'm going Denver +4.
Yeah, there's a lot of points. I do think it's a tight game, but Andy Reid, after they had a bye week last week.
Yep.
Andy Reid's one of the best coaches after a bye in the history of the NFL. He's 9-3 in Kansas City in his tenure. 4 points. I do agree. It's tight. It's at Denver, right?
It's at Denver.
At Denver, but I'm going with Kansas City. I'm going with Kansas City. Actually, I should have started this out. I didn't want to wait till the end. This is my big pick of the week. I'm very confident. This is big pick Nick of the week. I feel really confident in. This one, I am picking Kansas City to show out in Denver. I don't think Bo Nix has played the quality of ball that gives me confidence that they are going to win this game.
So you have Chiefs -4.
I got Chiefs -4 is my big pick Nick of the week, and I've been hitting the last several weeks. I feel really good about this.
Okay.
Just bye week, Bo Nix not playing great. I feel like Denver has been a great fourth quarter team, but usually you lose in the fourth quarter playing against inadequate coaching, and I feel like that's showing me. A big reason Dayball's not in New York is he let that big one go. They were up by – what was it, over like 20? I forget how many points. It was a lot of points.
Yeah.
And so that being said, I got Kansas City in this one. I feel really confident.
Okay, what's your other one?
What was the other one I picked? Tampa Bay at Buffalo.
It's Buffalo -5.5.
Buffalo
right?
-5.5. Both teams lost last week. This is sort of like a get back on track sort of game. I like Buffalo in this one. I like them. Ooh. I realize this is, this team's going to go as – honestly, they're not going to go that far. They don't have enough there, but there are times where Josh Allen just shows out and he can carry him. He's not going to be able to carry him to the Super Bowl without help. He's an amazing player, MVP last year, but I do feel confident in this game. I got Buffalo.
Not at 5.5, I don't. I think if Buffalo wins this game, it's tighter than that. I think this is a game they actually might lose. I think Tampa coming off a loss to the Patriots, where there were some issues that popped up in that game. We wondered if Tampa could keep this up. They seem to be sliding a little bit, but I don't like 5.5 points. I think Buffalo is flawed in so many ways. Unless Josh has a miraculous game, they generally struggle. They looked awful against Miami, and it was. And I know you could say, well, no, they're just going to bounce back, and they might, but they're not going to win by 6 or more points. I like Tampa +5.5.
It's going to be cold.
I don't care. Tampa +5.5.
Okay.
Seattle at the Rams. This is the NFC game of the year so far, given what's at stake. I think these are the two best teams in football at the moment. It's Rams -3 simply because the game's at SoFi at home. The Rams, the number 1 overall team by PFF. The Seahawks have the number 3 offense in the league. They've led by 24 or more at halftime of 3 games this year. They're second in the league at sacks. Get this one. They have a 40% pressure rate on quarterbacks, and they blitz the second lowest frequent amount in the league.
That's the Rams?
That's the Seahawks.
Seahawks?
So the Seahawks, I mean, look, I love what the Rams are doing, but the Seahawks are deadly. They're getting after the passer without even bringing pressure.
Man.
We saw last week they had 2 defensive touchdowns. Sam Darnold's been out of his mind. Jackson Smith and Jigba is an all-pro. They haven't even gotten Rashid Shaheed back into the mix yet. But this game is at SoFi. The Rams don't really have any weaknesses to speak of either. Rams -3. What do you think?
Man, you do a great job with all the context of the games. I went because this was the first show that I didn't like pre-pick them. I'm pick them as we go, like as you say.
And by the way,
everything.
The Seahawks are fantastic on the road. Dating back to last season, is it 12-1 on the road or 11-1?
Something like that, yeah.
11 or 12-1 on the road. They are off the charts on the road.
See, this is why I don't bet against Ev, because he can paint a picture in a way that makes me go a direction. I'm like, God, that's not the direction I was thinking.
Just food for thought.
No, those are great. I mean, instantly you just think how Stafford's played in the last.
If you want to feel better about the Rams, Stafford has. Stafford hasn't thrown. Stafford has no interceptions in 6 straight games, and he has 13 touchdowns in the last 3 games.
But they haven't played a quality of opponent like Seattle.
Correct. But he's still dicing up the league, and he takes care of the ball. He's ridiculous.
But then, you know what got me? So I was Rams until you kept bringing more context and information. And the thing that you said that changed my mood, changed my mindset and my decision to Seattle, I'm choosing Seattle, was the pressure with just basically the front.
Yeah.
Because Stafford's great, but I don't care who you are at quarterback. The second there's pressure, Stafford is going to be a lot more difficult. And I do think that the key to their success is continuing that pressure against Stafford and making it hard for him. And then, he's been playing great and everything, but I got Seattle in this one just because of that.
The remake of the Patriots after letting Pete Carroll walk, and Pete Carroll had roster control, even though his GM has always been John Schneider. Pete was the one that was the decision maker. And I think there was some friction towards the end. Pete walks, John stays.
Yeah.
The remake under John Schneider has been remarkable.
He's done a great job with Seattle.
He brings Sam Darnold in for a manageable salary, and he gets a 3rd rounder for Geno, who's been awful in Vegas. Now, to be fair, he doesn't have the roster.
Everyone's been awful in Vegas.
He doesn't have the roster that Seattle has. But what John Schneider has done as a GM there, he was there with Pete. Now, since Pete left, the speed and youth and playmaking on defense is freaking amazing. The play they're getting out of the quarterback position and what they have at receiver, what they've gone to acquire at receiver that hasn't even really come to fruition yet. The Seahawks almost deserve an award for this, and we're not even all the way through the season. I love what they are on the road. I think with the Rams being the number 1 overall team by PFF, I think you'd think this line would even be bigger, like 4.5. 3 is just a nod to playing at home.
Yeah.
And I think it's 3 because I think the Seahawks are that dangerous. And in our conversation last week about divisions that are up for grabs, this was one of them, the NFC West. I think the Seahawks are going to win the NFC West. I think the Rams are going to be a deadly wild card team. I wouldn't want to play them. They're going to be really just like they were last year. They almost won at the Link and beat Philly in the playoffs, right? But I think the Seahawks are going to win this division. Mike McDonald has been unbelievable football coach there. And what they've built with youth and all the things they have going on, I love it. Here, just a quick note on Stafford before we go to our last game. Stafford just eclipsed as a starter. We all know he was with some terrible teams in Detroit for a long time. He is now 115, 115, and 1 in his career as a starter. So he just now reached the 500 mark in his career as a starter. How about that? And he's always been considered like an elite passer, right?
Yeah.
After 231 starts, he finally now has a 500 winning percentage. It's the most starts by a quarterback to reach that mark, 231, since they started tracking this in 1950.
It's a lot of
so
games starting.
76 years. And Matt Stafford finally has a 500. And we all know it's not his fault. I mean, look at him throw the ball. The guy's ridiculous.
He's outstanding.
And it shows how good he was to be in a bad organization. The Lions used to be a bad organization, or not anymore. For that long and never really get the blame. We all knew, no, Stafford's legit. Don't blame him.
Yeah.
Right? He just now, reaches the 500 mark.
You have to
How
be,
about that?
You have to be such a good quarterback to be on a team like he was in Detroit where they weren't good and you don't get blamed. That's how good of a player he is.
That's going to be one. That's appointment television. Seattle and the Rams going to be a great football game. I'm going Seattle +3. I will take those points, and I honestly probably will sprinkle a little on the money line at Seattle. I'm guessing it's +120 to 125. So it's there, and this team is nails on the road, and there just are no weaknesses. It'll be fun to watch.
All these games are huge, obviously, for both teams, but more so for Seattle because, I mean, I would say SoFi is not a huge home field advantage. Yeah. I don't see it as
I agree with that.
I don't think LA fans and like the stadium.
I would say not having to play at Seattle Stadium is an advantage, but then again, Seattle's really good on the road.
I agree, but on the flip turn, I would say playing at Seattle is very, very difficult, especially playoffs because you're going to get cold weather, rain, whatever it may be. The fans, it's loud. That's a huge advantage. So if Seattle can get that home field advantage, that is huge for them.
Let's finish with this. Detroit at Philly on Sunday Night Football. This is a great matchup.
Amazing matchup. They were doing there's only a few great primetime games left. And
this is one. Well, they'll start flexing them too as we get closer. But this is not a flex game. I don't think we're in the flex period
yet.
Detroit at Philly. It's Philly -2.5. It's that famous, not even a field goal for a team that's really good at home. And Detroit comes into town. Quick note on Detroit. We haven't even mentioned this yet. Dan Campbell takes over play calling this last week, which was kind of flew under the radar till after the game. And everyone's like, wait, Dan Campbell was calling plays in that game. His OC, John Morton, who they hired in-house after Ben Johnson went to Chicago. Dan Campbell takes over play calling. Now, I need to give you a couple notes on exactly what he accomplished as a play caller this week. All right, so they beat the Commanders 44-22. They put up 546 total yards. Now, the Commanders aren't very good, but 546 total yards and 226 rushing yards. Those are both season highs for the Lions. And 30 first downs, and they scored on every possession except the final one. So this is what they're rolling with now. Dan wanted to – and by the way, in title, Dan has never been an offensive coordinator. In title. Now, he was in close synergy last year with Ben Johnson. They worked together and all that. But so he's calling the plays. And now they go to Philly after Philly comes off kind of a brutal offensive performance but gets a win against the Packers. They go to Philly, and it's Philly -2.5. What do you got?
I mean, I got Philly, and there's reasons why. It's awesome that Dan Campbell, called plays and they had success. But I will say a Dan Quinn defense is historically a very simplistic defense, a post safety.
That's the Commanders' offense.
Commanders head coach.
Yeah.
Play some man coverage, play some, cover 3 zone, zombie coverage, not a lot of pressures. I mean, historically. But you have to have great personnel for that defense to be successful. Whereas you coming into Philly and you got Vic Fangio, you're going to mix up the coverages, you're going to have simulated pressures, and Vic Fangio has constantly been one of the best defensive coordinators in the NFL for a very long time. So
you think Dan might lose the play calling battle against Vic Fangio but win it against Dan Quinn?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, I just think that –
because Dan Quinn gets a lot of respect.
He gets a lot of respect, but that defense and the Eagles have personnel. They played well. They now have Jalen Phillips. So there's a better personnel, and I just think
let's be real. By the way, John Morton's not sitting up in the booth just twiddling his thumbs. They're collaborating.
It's play calling by committee now.
Exactly.
They're all, and then Dan Campbell is just making the decision.
He's got eyes upstairs still.
Yeah, he's not sitting there with the headset quiet, just making all the decisions. He's just making the
John
final
Morton's
say.
not sitting there popping Zins all game, being like, "Dude, is this almost over?
Hey, give me another Diet Coke. Let me have 6 Diet Cokes." No, but that being said, I just think what. Like I said, until Philly is upseeded and a team really takes it to, I mean, they're 8-2. They're having internal conflict, but they keep overcoming it. I'm waiting for a team to prove them wrong. So I have Philly. It sounds like you might go a different direction, but I got Philly in this one.
Philly's an up and down. I mean, for being 8-2, it's wild how up and down they can be. I don't trust Kevin Patullo. I do think they just have players that Jalen in key moments will show up and make a play and make a great throw down the field. They have enough talent to cover up, I think, some deficiencies on scheme and game plan, which I think they clearly have. But when you have Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, my daughter could probably go out there and call some plays that are going to find ways to get you in the end zone. And I think Kevin Patullo has been a broken clock for the most part this year, where it's right twice a day, and it's like, oh, nice, that one worked, cool. But I don't see a whole lot of rhythm. And they've had some good wins this year. Like we mentioned, they beat the Rams, right? They've still beaten some good teams, but this is going to be a big test for them. And I think Detroit rolls into Philly and gets a W.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
taking Detroit plus
In
2.5.
Sunday
I'm
Night
also
Football
sprinkling on
in Philly.
Yep.
On an 8-2 team.
Yep.
With that fan base and that crowd, and
Yep.
you don't think it's going to scare the Lions a little bit?
I 100% don't think that's the case.
It's going to be nice weather.
Look,
Lows 46, highs 68, passing showers.
I like the Lions. I think Jared Goff is fantastic. This is a very balanced football team. Not perfect defensively by any means, but then again, I think they'll do a better job of protecting against a 4-man rush than the Packers did. And I think Jared Goff is miles ahead of Jordan Love as far as finding answers.
Yep.
If Vic has to start bringing pressure, Jared Goff is the kind of passer where it's like, hey, he's not going to give you Jordan Love numbers against pressure. Jared Goff is the type that might dice you up, especially with his receiving core. He might dice you up if you bring pressure. And they're not going to consistently get there with 4. Like the simulated pressures and the 4-man fronts, like they're not going to be as effective. And so he's going to have to find different ways to get to Jared. And I think Detroit has answers. And I think Detroit's going to hurt him. And I don't think Philly's going to put up 30 points. I really don't. And I think Detroit's going to score 24 or more in this game. And I think Detroit wins the football game because of it. So those are great games. And I think those are the right games to talk about this week. And we're super excited to watch those games play out because we'll get more clarity in both conferences at the end of this week.
I know you picked the Lions, but I just went back to Jared Goff played Vic Fangio in 2018, went 20 of 44, 180 yards and no touchdowns.
2018, what was that matchup? Where was
it was Rams,
okay,
Bears.
stop.
I'm just saying, but it was 4 interceptions.
Was that Jeff Fisher or Sean McVay?
Sean McVay.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's struggled against Fangio. Is basically what my AI is saying is he has struggled against that scheme in the past.
Vic and what they do is tough. And they've got, like Philly has some dudes on that side of the ball, and they're better than they were without. They're better with Jalen Phillips than they were without him. It's another element to add to their attack. And so I do think it's going to be a great game. I'm always weary of teams that are only laying 2.5 at home. Always weary of that. Even though I took Seattle because the Rams are -3. When the books lay a team -2.5 at home, to me it says the books that think that team's going to lose the game. Now, I'm not letting that guide my decision here. I'm not saying, oh, it seems to me the books, they're going to lose. I'm going to give a reason. I would have said I think Detroit's going to win even if it was -4. But I also think the books are on my side here. 2.5 is a red flag for a really good football team at home to only be laying 2.5. I think it's a red flag about what the data shows about where this thing is at too. So anyway, any other takes? You want to empty the chamber on me or anything? You got any more takes of it?
Nope.
Got any more A.J. Brown takes?
No, we've said enough. I think everyone who listens, and we both agree, like, I'm just waiting for a week to pass where just stop talking to, what is it? Was it Twitch? Was it a live stream?
Yeah, it was a live stream.
If you're going to have conversations, have them on a phone with your loved ones or in the locker room. Like, there's no need to air out all this dirty laundry. And then if I'm also the Eagles, I wrote a note, loose ships sink ships. Or loose lips sink ships.
Let me add this too. So have you ever heard of the term AstroTurf narrative?
Tell me.
So an AstroTurf narrative is an orchestrated message or campaign that deceptively create the false impression of a spontaneous, widespread public movement in support or opposition to a particular agenda while hiding the true sponsors. So what that means is, like, if the A.J. Brown slander is an AstroTurf take, it means there are people behind the scenes that have an agenda against A.J. Brown and are trying to make it look like it's this organic take that has just kind of like gotten its own legs and should be taken as true. Okay. Philly fans a lot of times I think are accusing media members of making this like an AstroTurf narrative. Like, you guys have something against him. Just shut up. We're 8-2. Stop talking about it. The source of all this, it's not an AstroTurf narrative.
Yeah, it's not coming from
the source of all of this
is the source
himself and running his mouth. And now we're seeing it affect real-time decision-making during the game. We're seeing a 4th and 6 call that could have costed you a football game because you're trying to appease a guy that is pouting and not playing 100% and running his mouth on social media. That is the source of this narrative, and it's our job to talk about it. We are not the ones coming up with sponsoring this from behind the scenes and the rest of the media, sponsoring this from behind the scenes, pushing this as if it's a real deal. That's not what's going on here. We are simply commenting on it because it is a real issue, and it's going to be proved when this season is over and A.J. Brown is no longer an Eagle.
And when I said the thing about loose lips sink ships, I'm not talking about like A.J. Brown in per se. I'm talking about how the media got the information from someone inside the Eagles that 4th and 6 was not a play call.
Wrong.
was rogue. So Philadelphia just got to keep it tight. Like, that's not even coming from AJ Brown. Maybe it's coming from his people. I don't know, but like that's coming from someone inside the organization to protect the organization. So like, just keep it tight. The best teams keep it tight. Keep it within the walls of the NovaCare facility. They know how to do it. But the season's gonna be fun. There's a lot of great games this week. I felt like this. We didn't have a lot of banter at the beginning. We didn't have any pettiness. We just got right in the ball. I sort of like that.
Right to it. I told you my pet peeve, and that's shotgun runs on 4th down. It has to stop. It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Your average fan sees them line up and goes, "Oh, please tell me you're not going to hand it off." And they do, and you're like, "Oh my god!"
Unless it's a zone read RPO.
Yeah, but even on 4th down, it's risky. Defensive linemen play one gap, they shoot it, and it's really difficult. They're not even playing it straight up. If they're playing it straight up, they're trying to get their hands on a defensive guy, right? They don't even play it straight up. That is episode 14. That was a Week 10 reaction. It's a look ahead to Week 11, which we think is going to be awesome for so many reasons. As always, please follow us on social media at TheSZNPod, at TheSZNPod. Please follow. We love keeping this thing going. We thank you for listening. We know you got a million places to get your NFL news. We really appreciate you tuning in. That's episode 14, TheSZNPod. Have a good day.